Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
Without a hot podcast, we cannot truly be Penguin, can we?
Right, great, perfect. Thank you for that.
You got to find your heart podcast.
Sure, okay.
That's the only way you're
Your
going to make
Heartcast.
connections in this world. The
I
only
heart
way-
podcast. I don't know. I was gonna.
I Heart Radio? Is that what
their
you're
competitor? I guess I shouldn't. Yeah.
I was struggling to find a quote because most of the best quotes in this movie are tap to tap tap tap.
This
Or
movie is
song lyric.
I'm seeing written by Tom Stoppard. No,
More like,
written by 4 people
Yeah.
credited on this one.
and this is another George Miller where he is like, I spent 20 years writing this film.
Okay, George.
He claims he was making the second Mad Max, and a guy at a bar was like, I saw that Mad Max movie.
You got to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, he
Right,
was like, that's like
right.
Winter Wasteland.
Talk about
He truly claims that's the genesis of the movie that he spent 20 years in.
First he was like,
Winter
all right,
Wasteland.
penguins, and then after a while he was like, these penguins, they're overfishing. We got to talk about it, right? Like initially he just had penguins, and then
We'll get into
Okay,
all
all
this,
right, we'll
but
get
he
into
says that he didn't add the environmental elements
okay.
until they had started animating. That was not part of the original. That was that.
So
late.
the original thing was just dancing.
I don't know what this
Okay,
movie was.
okay. You can talk. You can talk.
Thank you so much for giving me
please talk.
space.
Yeah.
This script had to be a first draft. Like, it is a mess.
There's
That's what you would
4
think.
credited writers.
That's what you think, but I truly believe he spent 20 years. I don't know how much of that was ideation. I don't know how much of that was writing. Animation takes so long, and it was 4 years in production. I don't know. This is this weird thing. Like, the Mad Max movies are like, this is insane. I don't know how one person thinks of this, but somehow it all feels like it makes sense. And this is the opposite, where you're just like, how do you end up with these ideas? How do these ideas end up in the same box?
Well, if it's 4 writers, I feel like each one wrote a different screenplay and then they mashed them up together
it's
into one movie.
ampersands. They're credited as a unit, or is ampersand the opposite? No, ampersand is
Yeah.
you're together.
Right?
So it's
Ooh,
Miller.
yes, okay,
And
yes.
written out is, so it's Miller,
Uh-huh.
John Colley, of course, the writer of Master and Commander, the
Of course.
co-writer of that.
Of course.
Judy Mars, who worked on Babe Pig in the City.
Okay.
And some guy called Warren Coleman, whose only other writing credit is some sort of Australian TV show called Drop Dead Weird.
Well,
Well, Dream
sou-
team.
It sounds drop dead weird. I just want to say that most of the this is maybe the longest IMDb quotes page I've ever seen for a movie. I was saying this right before we start recording
Tappity,
because most of the quotes are people transcribing the entire song.
oh. We like songs like that we know, like "Kiss" by Prince. They just
but with
transcribe
all
it.
their weird, like
Their little
overlapping
asides.
asides and butt-ins from other songs.
Let's talk about eggs, baby. What?
We got to talk about eggs. I think we just got to go
Baby.
straight into talking about eggs, baby. This is a podcast called Blank Check with Griffin and David. I'm Griffin.
I'm David.
It's a podcast about filmographies, directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to make whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes those checks clear, and sometimes they tap dance, baby. And this is a mini-series on the films of George Miller.
Yes,
It is called Mad Pod Fury Cast.
of course.
And today we're talking about Happy Feet, which is a fascinating artifact because it is a movie that feels like it should be a bounce, that this is a blank check he should not have been given.
Yeah,
then
it
blew
should
up
be
in his
like,
face.
what, you decide to out of nowhere make a cartoon which you've never made before, and it's about penguins.
You
Like, it
can't
feels like
describe this movie to anyone in a way that doesn't sound like a dream you had.
it
where you're
sounds
trying
like
to
half
remember
an
the
idea
logic.
for a 20-page kid's book.
I know this sounds
You
crazy.
know what I mean?
They're the same things, but some of the penguins sing and some of them dance, but the dancing is like kind of like
and it's
But
Australian.
there's like this whole dogma aspect of
right.
it, and
It's
then there's
definitely
this
about
environmental-
religion, but then it's also going to be about overfishing once we dispense with the
Overfish-
religion.
yes.
Right.
I think there's also a queer rating of this movie. In that it's
I see
about the
that.
father
Well,
disowning
yeah.
him for
It's
loving
like-
the wrong way.
It's the outcast thing.
Sure, classic
but-
animated
right.
film problem, right? You know, you're different, being
Right.
different, but you should be yourself.
but watching the scenes and the
But it
way,
has that sort of Billy Elliot thing where the
The
dad's
dad
like, I
thing.
can't reconcile the way you're intimate,
Right.
you know, you express your intimate
This
feelings.
isn't how we do this. This isn't what a
Right.
relationship is like.
Which
It's
is
this fucking insane movie, which ends up being his biggest hit ever.
Until Mad Max.
No,
Fury
this
Road?
grossed more than Fury Road, unquestionably. This thing was
Really?
so fucking.
It was a big deal.
huge. People forget how huge this was. At the time of its release, it was one of the 10 highest grossing films that Warner Brothers had ever released.
What?
And that list was like
it did make $200 million domestically,
in
which is
2006.
pretty, and one of the top grossing Penguin movies.
The number one, I think.
It does it have any competition?
March of the Penguins.
I mean,
That's
so the surf was coming, right? The surf
Right.
is next year.
Okay.
The
Yeah.
March had just happened.
Uh-huh.
They had
Which
March.
really
They
helped
did
them.
March.
It did. I
What-
mean, that's
what
the
an
thing.
alley-oop
It was
this
such a
movie got for
Penguins.
March of the-
It was
yeah.
such a time for Penguins.
But that's what's crazy is you look at this film and you go, how did they know that they were gonna make it out into theaters at peak Penguin?
It's just like whenever they make two volcanoes, it's just it's in the air. Everyone's kind of
Sure.
wants to talk about penguins.
They just got so fucking lucky.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this crazy movie, but it is the thing that arguably finally gives him the freedom to make Fury Road the way
Right.
he wants.
And he wins an Oscar. It's his one Academy Award win, correct?
Yes. Everything about this movie is crazy.
Like he has one Oscar. You're like, George Miller has an Oscar, and you're like, oh yeah, he won director for Mad Max Fury Road.
Right.
The Oscars love that one. No.
Best animated film.
Animated feature for Happy Feet.
Right. Right.
Wait,
His-
it won?
It won
that year?
Best animated feature film of the year.
Was there not a Pixar movie
it
that
was
year?
Cars. That's the thing.
It was Cars.
It was the
Oh.
first bad Pixar.
Not the
Uh-huh.
first, but because I mean, I love Monsters Inc., but they had snubbed Monsters Inc. that year. Pixar had
I'm
missed a
not
couple
saying it was
times.
the first year that Pixar lost. I'm saying it's the first bad Pixar.
Sure.
It is the first Pixar that is
The
not.
three nominees.
looks
Can you
kinda
tell me
like-
the three nominees?
Well, I mean, Cars, Happy
Cars.
Feet, 2006.
Yeah. Another movie I kind of like. Pretty good animated movie.
It's a pretty good animated
Oh.
movie. Oh, was it Monster House?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which could have won.
Oh.
Like that was pretty charming.
Yeah.
But I think Happy Feet had the, big name director. It had made a lot of money. Had penguins. Everyone can agree on them.
And critics weirdly loved it. Like it was
they liked it.
it was a movie where like I think critics were like, this is weirdly something we're getting behind.
Sure.
76% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah.
It's solid. They liked it. I know that it wasn't like a favorite of the year, but they liked it. Critics were into it.
Especially in relation to Cars, which felt like
Well,
no
one
pun
liked fucking
intended.
Cars.
Well, I mean, for the record, Cars 2 makes Cars 3 look like Cars 1.
We're talking about Cars 1.
I know, but I'm just saying
You're just saying that because you just let's
it's the best of the three. And there was this feeling, I think, that it was like, oh, Lasseter's overdue for an Oscar for being such a good man, for being one of our great American men. And he won the Golden Globe. And it kind of felt like, are they just going to give him the award, even though Cars is like so mezzo because he is the last major Pixar
Sure.
director to not win an Oscar? And then I think it was kind of there was this groundswell of like, let's not fucking give it to Cars. Let's give it to Happy Feet. Let's not default to Lasseter needing to win an Oscar.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Cars isn't
history
good.
smiles upon that decision.
Sure.
It's not as bad as Good Dinosaur, though.
No.
Have you seen that?
Yes.
What a mess.
It's not a
Yes.
good movie.
Yes.
All
And,
right. Introduce our guest.
and it's the best
then
of the three Cars.
Let's start.
Our guest today from the Bechdel Cast and the Sludge Podcast, Caitlin Durante,
Hello.
is on
Hey, Caitlin.
the show.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Now, originally, because we had your co-host, Jamie Loftus, on
Yes.
for Dark Shadows.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
And
Shadows
originally,
were dark.
we were trying to have both of you on for the same episode.
Yeah.
And it was a thing where you were both in town for a New York podcast show.
But only for like 4 hours.
There was only
and then
4 hours
there was
of
like
overlap.
a conflict that I had.
Right. It was
Yeah.
one of you was there before the show and one of you was there after the show.
Yeah.
And there was no time to do both of you at the same time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you got off easy skipping Dark Shadows, or do you feel like that would have been an easier task than talking about Happy Feet?
Want to be nowhere else in the world other than right now here talking about Happy Feet.
Perfect answer.
They're tapping.
Gotta talk about those feet. They ain't sad.
Penguins. See, my brother, you know how when you're a kid, sometimes you'll just sort of go all in on one thing? Like
Sure.
I liked trains, as you know, when I was a little kid. My brother, when he was 5, was like, penguins, babe. Like
Really?
for 2 years, he was like, I love penguins. I know about all the kinds of penguins. I have like 8 penguin toys. Like he was like,
Was he getting like zoo books?
yeah, like again, it was partly the Central Park Zoo has the really nice penguin, area, right?
Sure.
So we would go there probably. But like, also that thing with kids where it like kind of steamrolls where it's like the relatives hear like, oh, he likes penguins.
Right.
So
And then
let's
everything
just
becomes-
send some penguin shit his way.
Was he reading a lot of Puffin classics? I guess that's not really. That's a different. That's I know. I just corrected myself. Producer Rachel keeping me in check once again.
So, like, I feel like I just had, I knew about all the penguins.
I got a
before I
huge
saw
question.
this movie. Yeah, sure. And he liked March of the Penguins, I think.
Congrats.
That's sort of at the tail end. That's,
Sure. Yeah, he would have been in high school by that point, right?
Well, not high school. When did the Penguins march?
2006. 2005.
2005. So he would have been, late high school. Yeah, you're right. You're
right.
right.
Yeah, because Joey and I
But
are the
still,
same age, right?
There was but there was still the sort of lingering, like, oh yeah, penguins. Remember those?
Sure. Did Joey, this is my big question, and stop me if this is too personal.
Please.
Did Joey have that toy that was like the ice mound and then all the penguins like walk around it? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, not even a little
Pull
bit.
up
I
a
don't
photo
think
of
I
this
know
thing.
what you're talking about.
You'll
but
know
I
it
don't
if
know.
you see it.
We definitely had a life-size inflatable emperor penguin that like sat in our room.
Inflatable?
Inflatable. So like, you know how inflatable toys like
Yeah.
will slowly sort of, and then you got to blow them back up, and then at a certain point
Was it
they're
a
just.
pool toy? What toys are
But it had like
inflatable?
a
was like a
flat
bop bag?
bottom. It had like flat
Yeah.
feet so it could stand. It was
Yeah.
just a fucking inflatable penguin. It was very weird in retrospect.
Wow.
that
Couldn't
we had
sit
that.
on it. It wasn't a chair.
I mean, you could, I guess. It wouldn't be fun. Anyway, sorry. Penguins.
Do you remember this kind of thing where it's like there's like a little escalator and the penguins go up it and then they all slide down?
No.
Yeah, I do remember that. I may have had that in
Producer
fact.
Rachel validating
Yeah,
me,
I
keeping
sort
me in
of
check
remember
and
that.
validating
And
me.
there's the Mario 64 world with penguins.
Oh, yeah, there's two different ones with
You
penguins.
know,
Oh,
where you go
yeah.
sliding and you race them down
Yeah.
the. So that's fun. Who doesn't love penguins? They're fat. I think it's the fatness. They're sort of rotund
Sure.
that really kids really respond to
move
about them.
funny.
They're,
Yeah,
they're
their
funny. They
arms
move
don't
funny.
move.
And
Right.
they're,
right.
and
I love
they're, and they're
the
birds,
waddle.
but they can't fly.
Right. They're
Yeah.
unique. They operate, and they're not threatening.
They're
They
not
don't-
like
Right.
the other birds. They're
Yeah,
a little
they-
different.
They are
But, like,
a little different.
no legs,
No legs,
Big feet,
long
long flippers,
waddly,
and also let's say it, they're very classy gentlemen because they all look like they're
they,
wearing
they got
tuxedos.
little tuxes.
I think when you're a kid and you figure that out,
Yeah.
penguins start really shooting up the charts for you in the animal kingdom.
That's fair. This is right. I'm trying to crack the code of like, what is it about penguins
I don't know.
that makes them so popular?
And you're right. I mean, they are an evergreen thing. I think they're a type of animal that kids get attracted to, but they're not like cats or dogs that are like perennials. You
Well,
know,
you
like
can't own a penguin,
right. And kids always love horses.
Speak
sure,
for
horses.
yourself.
Fair enough. Yeah, maybe.
Hey, okay.
If you cool your house down,
I
I guess
can
you can
own
have a penguin.
Yeah, don't tell Caitlin she can't
But like,
fucking own a
did
penguin.
you guys, Caitlin? I don't know where you're from. I'm realizing.
Western Pennsylvania.
So I don't know if you had like a penguin zoo near you. Like
I grew up near nothing.
we would like go to the zoo and there's the penguins and you go down in the Central Park Zoo. You go down into this sort of subterranean area and you can see them swimming.
Mm-hmm.
But then also sometimes they're little, the zoo people would come and feed them fish.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always very exciting. Did you not do this? Were you
I
not a
did.
zoo kid? Okay.
I did know. We went
You
to the zoo a
zoos,
lot.
zoo boy.
Yeah, I went to the zoo a couple of times.
Wait a second. Ben Hosley went to the zoo.
Yeah, I've been to the zoo.
Producer Ben went to the zoo.
Oh, you're doing this?
well,
All right.
I need clarification. The Ben Deucer went to the zoo.
It's true.
The first of the meat lover went to the zoo.
Yeah,
Soaking Wet Benny, White Hot Benny, Dirt Bike Benny.
it didn't grab my attention.
Our finest film critic bought a ticket to the zoo.
You know what I did like though when I was there, a gorilla threw feces at the window, and I found
tiebreaker.
that very funny.
The
That's a good bit.
Went through the
Classic.
turnstile.
That's a classic.
Caitlin is checking her
gorilla.
watch as I go
No,
through these
it's-
nicknames.
Let's speed this up.
I
if
was
you're
getting
gonna
a
keep
text
going.
message on my thing.
I just have one other question for you.
What's up?
When you went to the zoo,
Yeah.
did they acknowledge that you graduated to a series of
They
different titles,
did
of course, a different
not.
miniseries, such as producer Ben Kenobi, Kylo Ben, Ben
Yeah.
X Shyamalan, Ben Sate,
I know,
Billy
it's
Benz
been a
with the
while.
dollar sign, say Bennything, ... Benglish.
I'm sorry.
You don't even know what it is for
Ben
the last
19, the
miniseries.
Fennel Maker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Eat, Drink, Ben Hosley.
You got it.
My neighbor Ben Toro, Beetle Vape
That
Juice.
one?
I don't know.
Sure.
I'm making them up now.
Okay, fine.
I feel like we haven't come
Was that
up
a
with
My
the last
Neighbor
three.
Totoro?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the Demi one?
What's the Demi?
The Truth About Benny?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. A Master Ben? No, forget it.
Yeah, a Master Ben.
Benny in the Flash?
Benny in the Flash.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Benny and
Ben Lovett?
Ben Lovett.
Okay.
Love to do a pun on beloved.
I do too.
All right, I don't know. Have we pulled out of that tailspin?
Yeah,
Can we talk
I'm
about
sorry.
Happy
I
Feet?
fucked up the entire show.
No, it's great.
I was not a big animal kid. We went to the zoo a lot, but I was just never a kid who loved animals.
didn't
I
wanna
think they're
go to
different
the zoo.
types of kids, and most kids have one animal they like The animal I liked the most was the pig, and I think I picked it perversely because I never had to make contact with it.
Sure.
It wasn't a thing where people could be like, let's go to the zoo and see that pig you love. I could just be in the abstract like, I love pigs.
I mean, you could
And
go
it was-
to the farm, Wilbur, some pig. You could have gone there.
Is some pig.
Sure.
That's the best pig. I mean, I feel like
See that motherfucker Babe on topic.
that's a good
What are you
point.
talking about? That'll do.
How do you feel about Babe?
I love Babe.
So when we're doing Happy Feet, George Miller's been pretty dormant for a while, but his last efforts had been in the Babe franchise.
Yeah.
The two Babes.
Right.
I
you
might
go-
even like Babe 2 Pig in the City more than Babe.
I think a fair take.
Yeah.
A fair take.
But
Very
he-
different films.
He finishes out his Mad Max trilogy.
Right.
He does Lorenzo's Oil and Witches of Eastwick, right? Which are both him trying different things. Witches of Eastwick is him being like, I don't like the studio system. If I'm making movies, I'm doing them on my own terms. I have my own company. I work with Village Roadshow. Most of his films are distributed by Warner Brothers, but he's still always trying to retain some sense of autonomy and independence within the studio system, just sort of using them as a distributor. He produces the first Babe. Babe blows up. He goes, I don't feel like I'm getting enough credit for Babe.
Right.
I was sort of shepherding the whole thing, no pun intended.
Hey, that'll
Wow.
do.
Gets his second Oscar nomination. His Oscar nominations are so weird because it's first nomination, best screenplay for Lorenzo's Oil.
Hey, got to get
Second nomination as a producer, best picture for Babe.
Sure.
And then he's like, okay, you thought that was good. Let me take over Babe. Let me do Babe Pig in the City. People are like, boo, get off the stage. Real ones recognize the
He also
thing's
got
a fucking masterpiece.
Screenplay nom for Babe. Want to point out.
Oh, okay.
So
fair
two
enough.
noms there.
Two noms there. But he's a little bit in the wilderness after Pig in the City because
He
I
is.
think people were like, this guy, if you give him too much freedom, he's going to go fucking nuts. And so after Pig in the City, he's like, I'm ready to return to Mad Max. And he announces he's going to do Mad Max 4. I think it was supposed to be called The Wasteland at that point.
Yes, I think you're
With Mel Gibson.
Mm.
And it's very
Ooh.
close to getting made in 2001 and 9/11 happens. And he gets skittish and he backs off of it.
Interestingly.
And
enough,
for
sure.
years, it's still like percolating. And at some point, Mel is like having all his breakdowns and
Yeah,
directing
Mel
more.
becomes a little more unemployable.
And it becomes clear that he's probably not going to act in the movie ever. So it's still this thing of like, he's going, maybe I do it animated. Do I get a new actor to do it? Do I set it earlier? Like, can I coax Mel into coming back? And he'll be doing interviews and people will go like, is Mad Max 4 ever going to happen? Like, it feels like this quixotic quest, right? And he's like, no, it's definitely going to happen. It's definitely happen. We were going to film next year, but then Namibia, the planes changed, and I can't film in this environment. Like, it was always just like weird interruptions coming in. And in this period where he's continually talking to Warner Brothers about trying to make a fourth Mad Max, which they would like to do, he goes, can I show you this other thing I've had? And he's like meeting with them in LA, and he's like, I've had this Penguin script for like 10, 15 years that I've been like percolating on. And he drops it at their desk and gets on his plane back to Australia. And the story is that when he landed, they were like, we'll make this tomorrow. That they read it within the time that he was on the plane, that very long plane flight. And they were like, obviously, this movie makes perfect sense to us. Now, to me, I wonder if that is a symptom of this period, early 2000s, post-Pixar, animation's in a big boom, and suddenly every studio is like, we got to get in on that. We got to make our own animated films. And Warner Brothers does not have an animation division. They have no sort of like incubator.
Because they had shut it down, right? They briefly,
In the
Iron
90s,
Giant, right?
that was
They
the end of
experimented
it.
with it, right?
Right. So that was like that wave of every studio trying to copy Disney and do their like hand-drawn musicals.
Mm-hmm.
And Iron Giant's the final nail in the coffin for Warner Brothers Animation. And I think they feel too recently burned by that to try to start up a new CGI thing. And like
Sure.
Fox had bought Blue Sky, DreamWorks had bought PDI, which later became DreamWorks Animation. Like all these other places were buying independent animation houses the way that Disney did with Pixar. And Warner Brothers was like, I don't know what to do. And suddenly a guy who they have a relationship with drops the script on their desk. And I think part of the pitch was there's this company, Animal Logic, that's a special effects house. They're based out of Australia, and we can hire them to animate the whole movie. We don't have to build an animation studio. They essentially are an animation studio, but no one's ever asked them to animate an entire film before.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a part and parcel. You don't have to develop an animation arm. Here's this thing. And I think to execs, they're probably like, I don't know, what do fucking kids like?
But this
What's
thing
the
was
difference
expensive.
Sure.
Like, it's not like this was just sort of like, sure, have a roll of it.
But don't you think to some degree they were like, all this shit's expensive? Talking cars, singing
Yeah,
penguins.
no.
What the fuck? What's the difference?
Yeah, you can sell people on. I mean, have you seen the animated? Have you seen Delgo or whatever? Like,
Yeah.
people will take flyers in animated movies because they're like, sure, those things sell, right? Kids see them.
And it's that thing I think that also happened when like Warner Brothers tried to be getting into the DC interconnected universe, where it's like, we understand that there's a market for this thing, but we also don't like it at all.
Right.
Where they're like, I don't know, what do these fucking kids like?
Right.
You know, like what are these nerds like? And like to some degree, they're sort of reluctantly making these things with disdain because they're like, it's easy money in the bank. And what they're not counting on is George Miller being a lunatic who's like, this is my movie to say everything.
That's right.
This is my chance to try to like work like insane subjective camera movements into animated film.
The camera stuff is wild in this movie because obviously there is no camera, so he can do whatever he wants with it. Right.
Did you see this when it came out, Kayla?
No, I hadn't
Okay.
seen it until like 3 days ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you agreed to do this just as like, that sounds like a weird movie.
Yeah.
We gave you a list of like a couple of options. So do you want to do any of these? And you were like happy feet, totally.
I just mostly didn't want to see one of the like original trilogy Mad Max movies again.
Sure.
I've seen them all. Not for me. Love Fury Road. But I'm so glad I said yes to this because what he is trying to say with Happy Feet is
Everything.
exactly what he tries to say and I think succeeds at saying in Fury Road.
Yeah,
That's true.
in a lot of ways.
Because there's like this like religious aspect where like Immortan Joe's, you know, like has this whole, you know, he's got this regime, totalitarianism, but like this this like dogma.
Right. This
of,
movie is also about a demagogue
Yes.
who's like
This is true.
controlling his
Correct.
little population.
This is all true.
but then the whole thing also is that like we ruined the world.
Right. Yes,
There's the
or
water
we're
wars.
in the process of ruining the world.
Yeah,
Right.
And the same like environmental themes are very suddenly out of nowhere present in Happy Feet.
Yes. It is also this thing where like what is so powerful about Fury Road is that all that stuff is in there and it's almost never stated directly through dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
It is almost always just conveyed through the world building and the action.
Right.
And the dialogue is mostly like conversational and perfunctory.
Right.
And then this is a children's movie has like every character explaining every theme all the time.
Yes, that is true. But also, this film posits that penguins, when they select their mate, sing pop songs from like the 80s.
Well, every penguin has a heart song.
Yeah, but those are pop songs
Right.
from the 80s.
It has to be a Moulin Rouge style,
Right,
like
exactly.
a couple penguins duet.
jukeboxy kind
and
of
one
like
of them
their
singing
take.
Roxanne, and one of them is singing like Big Pimpin', and they harmonize somewhere in the middle. Here's a question, Professor Penguin. I genuinely want to know, and you got the laptop, and apparently
Sure.
an infinite well of penguin facts,
My brother had these like flashcards of every penguin species that he would like.
and he drilled you every night on them.
Honestly, go on, guess.
But my question is, I feel like emperor penguins are culturally sort of seen as the default penguin.
Especially when you get the name Emperor
Right.
Penguin, like you're really sticking out there. They're the biggest penguins, I think.
But
You know,
also,
literally size wise.
I feel like if you ask someone draw a penguin,
They probably
99
draw
out of 100 will draw something that most closely resembles an emperor.
Yeah.
Are they the most
Are they like
popular
the
species, or are they
like-
just kind of have they become the default?
the most populous penguin species is
Emperor
the
penguins.
macaroni penguin.
What? No.
Shocker! 18 million
Mamma
macaronis.
What do they look like? Turn around that screen.
I showed
They're
you
the
them. They're the
ones-
crusty ones.
Oh, they're the crusties?
Yeah.
They're the ones who are overfishing, not humans.
Yeah,
There's
seriously,
so many
guys.
macaroni penguins. Do they eat macaroni?
I hope they do. They really should.
That is crazy that they're the most popular, and I think of them as like, oh, that's like an obscure deep cut penguin. You know those
let's
eyebrow penguins?
Well,
see.
that's okay. Talk about representation in media.
Yes.
Why are emperors favored so much in media?
This is what I was getting at. Are emperor penguins the straight white men of the penguin world? Are they just taking up 90% of the film roles, but they're not actually representing that much of the population?
That's
Emperor penguins
exactly
are
it.
low on the list. I think because they have such an unusual breeding thing where they like it takes them a whole goddamn year, and it's just one egg, and they got to march. Like, it seems like very convoluted.
Wow.
But number 1, macaroni. Number 2, the chin strap. Who is a good boy? We like the chin strap.
Sure.
He's got a little chin strap.
Aw.
They're cuties.
They're number 2.
Yeah, they're number 2.
I like them because it looks like their face is like peeking out, like
Yeah,
they're
they're
like
like,
an oyster. Like
And then you got the
cracking open.
Adelie penguins, who kind of just have those really crazy eyes. As
Uh-huh.
I've seen.
Okay.
There's a rock hopper, right? You know, you got something called the Magellanic penguins. Oh, I feel like the zoo has a lot of those. The sort of like black
those
and
are
white.
familiar.
Yeah,
Sure.
right. That's a cool one. What
Now-
crazy things they are.
Also, zoos, that's another message, are bad.
Yeah.
And I
They're-
agree.
they're-
zoos
they're-
are terrible.
they're- well,
we should get
especially-
rid of them.
Well,
They're
if you're-
so awful.
They're not terrible.
They truly
They're
are.
bad.
But like
Ain't good.
they're people
Hey.
who work at zoos who are trying to conserve and
Yes.
educate, and like it's a responsibility
Right.
that you can take on well and
Just
have
like
a good
there are
zoo.
people in the Trump administration who are there to be a voice
We're
of
comparing
reason.
zoos to the Trump
Jared
administration.
Kushner is trying his hardest.
David,
Hey, Griffin.
listen, we all know that right now I sound exactly the same as I have for this entire episode.
Right. It's not like you've been talking straight for 30 hours.
It's not like I just did some wild 30-hour live stream, because this is me in the exact same mode I've been in during this entire episode,
Yeah.
recorded in studio.
Exactly.
There's no reason I would need to do a 30-hour live stream, because this episode was recorded when nothing was wrong with the world. And I'm saying
Right.
that in the present tense.
Yeah. That's because it's seamless. It's seamless for folks right
This
now.
is seamless. This is a live ad read done at the time, and I want to say something very important.
Go ahead.
While you're listening to the beautiful tones of my entirely normal voice right now, you might be saying, hey, I want to hear more of Downtown Griffiniums.
Hey, this is a nice voice in my little eardrums. I like it. I like the way it bounces off.
I love, listen to this
Ooh,
voice.
mhm.
And how normal it sounds. If only there were some fun moving pictures to go along with it. But I don't want to see his face. Maybe you're one of those voice fans who hates my face.
You got a nice face. Get out of here.
I look, there are folks of different stripes out there, okay? But this is the important news I want to say. It's a very personal ad read for me, David,
Go ahead. Why is that?
because I guest star in an episode of The Shivering Truth Season 2, premiering Sunday, May 10th on Adult Swim.
Now, it's Vernon Chapman, right? Like
Vernon
it's
Chapman.
Crazy Puppets. It's the Wonder Chosen guy.
The Wonder Chosen guy. It's the Wonder Chosen guy, and this is a stop motion animated show. A dream.
Whoa.
A dream for me, okay?
Right.
I play, much like all of us, a character caught in an eternal struggle between meaning and meaningless, between action and inaction, between sense and nonsense. Something that we all just relate to in a general sense, and not because there's some sort of huge global crisis happening, because once again, this is a live ad read recorded in studio at the same time as the rest of this episode.
Right. And the thing about this show is that it's the most surreal show on television or anywhere else.
Oh, that's interesting.
And that's why it's premiering at midnight when the
Oh.
most surreal shows premiere.
Yes, the surreal hour, as we call it.
I am actually, yes, Vernon Chapman's a genius. Wonder
Yes.
Chosen is the best. This sounds very cool. It's got all kinds of cool people in it. You got like Janine Garofalo and Michael Cera, Jonah Hill, Starlee Kine, friend of the show, feature
Yes.
guest maybe.
Yeah, you know what? We should ask her to be a guest. That's a very good point. I'm glad this is happening during an ad read. But this is a very cool show, as you said. Vernon Chapman's a very cool guy. I recorded this I want to say a year ago, if not more, because stop motion takes so long that I'm actually now just excited to see it because I barely remember what happened.
Right.
But I'm like the main character for one episode. It's an anthology show. It's really weird, surreal stories. I think it's really cool. The puppet ostensibly looks a little bit like me.
That's pretty cool. Can't wait to see it.
I'm excited for it. I hope everyone else tunes in.
All right. Well, it's Sunday, May 10th. Premieres at midnight, only on Adult Swim.
And you can always go to the Adult Swim website, adultswim.com. Watch it there.
Watch it there. Why not?
Watch
It's a
it
brave
there.
new world.
And now I'm just seamlessly gonna go back into talking about Happy Feet in the exact voice you've heard this entire episode.
Okay, so as we learn in various movies, such as Happy Feet, such as March of the Penguins, that are focused on emperor penguins. So they're, to me, the feminist icons of the penguin.
Of course. Because the female
The
goes
females
off
go
to
out to
fish
hunt.
and-
They lay an egg. They're like, "Here, Daddy, you
Right.
take care of this. I've got work to do."
Yeah, stick this under your crotch.
Although it is absolutely wild that not only does the male penguin just have to stand there, but he cannot eat for 2 months,
Yeah.
which is just a very strange way of doing business.
Yeah. She's
Just-
like, look, I couldn't drink for 9
It's
months.
fair,
You got
yeah.
2
Right.
months without a sandwich.
Couldn't have any sushi.
My other question: so, do other
Couldn't
species
vape.
of penguins do this, or is it just the emperors? Do we know?
It's a great question.
It felt like that's why March of the Penguins was about them. That it was
Right.
such a unique sort
I
of
do think
phenomenon.
Let's see, but like
The
also
whole hook to that movie was like, what an interesting dynamic
Right.
between these
Right.
parents and how they have a child.
reproduction. Let's see, egg. I'm trying to sort of
David,
like
look.
Talk
looking up
about
penguin
eggs,
porn.
baby.
We should talk about eggs, baby.
most penguins
Yeah.
lay 2 eggs. Emperors and king penguins, with the other big boys, only lay 1. Okay.
They lay 2 eggs simultaneously?
Well, I don't know. You lay 1, then you lay another one.
Okay.
I
In
don't, know, I
quick
don't think you have to
succession.
have them like literally parallel. Let's see. So but the monogamous thing is pretty typical to all penguins.
Okay.
Which obviously unusual for animals to be monogamous.
You rarely meet a poly penguin, is what you're
I
saying.
feel like a lot of bird species overall do a pretty monogamous thing.
They're more fond of that.
Some of them might be like ethical non-monogamy, but like
Right.
I think-
Right.
But like a lot of them,
I mean, there's a
they pair
reason.
bond forever.
There's a reason we cite the birds and the bees as an example, because that's how culture's supposed to be.
It does seem like generally I think the emperors have, as you say, the added marching aspect. But the
Sure.
general vibe with penguins is they don't lay a lot of eggs.
Mhm.
They do mate monogamously. And it's tough out there for a penguin. You really gotta, those eggs are precious because you're not like laying 10,000 eggs.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Also, they're not scared of humans because they don't really understand what humans are. So if you go look at penguins, they will like come up to you. Penguins. So we like them. They're
Right.
cute. Another cute thing about emperor penguins, when they have babies, they look different than what they're going to end up looking like, which is typical.
Because they shed off all their
They've got
little
all this,
fuzzy fur.
They've got all this fluffy stuff.
it's so
It's cute.
I think it is fascinating
Pretty cute.
that Miller, with like no animation background, right?
Sure.
And
but after Babe, some CGI expertise, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
but Babe was largely animatronics with CGI
right.
sort of
But
augmentation.
he likes tech. He likes
Right.
He likes pushing boundaries.
But he like goes into a new medium. After the success of this, he starts an animation studio called Dr. D.
We love it. Which then I believe quickly shuttered
immediately
Right,
after
right,
Happy Feet 2.
Right.
But he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be your animation guy. I'm gonna spearhead like all these animated films for you."
Mhm.
But this movie makes this incredibly bizarre choice to stylize the penguins less than 10%.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All
Right? I think this is
They're
very
so-
important to talk about.
Yeah.
The animation, right? There's no. It's just like this weird uncanny valley version of penguins.
It's like the closest they could get to photorealism at the time.
but it looks bad. It's like really
Totally.
bad. And then also, except the one thing they do to stylize anything is they make several of the female penguins these like hourglass shaped.
They've got a little more of a
busty-
body.
A little buxom.
They've got a bosom.
You got some Coke bottle
And they got
penguins
some
over here.
hips.
Yeah.
And it's so weird. I guess they have to differentiate them from the male penguins for some reason.
But it's also this bizarre thing. I mean, that's the other problem is you have like a movie where most of the characters are going to end up looking the same. Like any
Yes.
scene in which like Gloria
Sure.
and what's the mother's name? Memphis is
no,
the dad.
Memphis is the dad.
Norma Jean.
Right. 'Cause
Norma
she sounds
Jean.
like fucking
Marilyn
Marilyn
Monroe.
Monroe.
Which is why I feel like he's like, okay, so it's distinguishing. You really got to have the most cartoonish voice, right? Like
he's doing
an
Elvis.
Elvis thing.
Yeah.
She's doing a Marilyn thing, a sort of breathy thing. Yeah,
But there are scenes.
it's a little weird. It's a little weird.
There are scenes in the last third of the movie where visually adult Gloria and Norma Jean are standing next to each other, and you can barely differentiate between the two of them.
Totally.
And same thing with adult Mumbles with Memphis.
I agree.
Let
Well,
alone
they
all the
give-
background penguins.
They give Mumble blue eyes, and
Right.
everyone else has black little beady eyes.
And he's got his little
He's got a
bow
little
tie.
bow
Bow
tie.
tie.
I think that the eyes, when he's a little kid, when Mumbles is a baby, adorable.
Cute.
Oh yeah.
When Mumbles is a teen, kind of makes him look weird. He looks kind of intense.
Yeah.
Does match with Elijah Wood, of course, who, anytime he's on screen, especially in Lord of the Rings, you are kind of like, Jesus, what's up with this guy's eyes?
David's blinking like he just stared into the sun.
And, Peter Jackson would do that trick where he would, shine, 40 lights into his eye to make his eyes, seem, very dazzling.
Which,
But,
the opposite side of that trick was if they were shooting late at night and they ran out of lights, they would just put his eyes behind the camera for a close-up.
Light him up!
Yeah.
But I remember walking out of Fellowship of the Ring and my mom being like, "We get it with his eyes," was sick of his eyes by the end of that movie. But don't you think he looks a little creepy, or not creepy exactly, but intense?
Yes.
Very intense.
No, I think creepy is the appropriate word
Sure.
there.
But it is this weird thing of so you have little details like that, or Norma Jean has a heart birthmark on one of her breasts.
Yeah.
It sort of looks
I didn't even notice
like a
that.
biker bar tattoo almost.
Right.
But by and large, these penguins all kind of look the same. And he's doing working as much as he can to sort of make them the physiology of them is pretty much exactly the same as a
Right.
real penguin looks. He's not redesigning them in any way that makes them easier to animate. Their faces are still kind of innately inexpressive.
Right.
Yeah.
Because
They
beaks
have
are
very small eyes. They have big beaks.
inexpressive.
Yeah.
It's like a mouth that just flaps open and closed.
So, for Hugo Weaving's villain penguin, he's
Right.
got a little crook in his neck, right?
He's the only one who sort of looks any amount of different.
Yes.
There is the one chunky boy.
Played by Fat Joe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Seymour.
Right.
Right.
But he's just they took the main penguin model and just stretched
bigger.
it.
Just a little
Widened
bigger.
it.
Right.
Fat Joe's involvement does really put this movie in 2006, though,
Oh
right?
my
That's
God.
just
Because there
Yeah.
are two
where
cast.
it's Fat Joe's enough of a star to be
lean-
in a kids movie.
Yeah.
Lean back
right.
had just happened a year ago.
Right.
Do you know the two cast replacements that happen in Happy Feet 2?
No, go ahead.
Brittany Murphy passes the year before the film comes out, so they
Very-
replace her
still
with.
remains one of the strangest and most upsetting
And then her husband died shortly after, and everyone
of
thought something.
toxic mold.
It turned out they had toxic mold in their shower, and
Right.
both of them got pneumonia and were never diagnosed.
Yeah, that
Oh
is
my God.
basically the accepted explanation, right? I know that was never fully
Because her husband
confirmed.
was also a weird con artist, so people kept on going
Oh, wait a
is she tied to something? But that he died so shortly after.
Mm-hmm.
It was that there was that when they ripped open their house after the husband died, they were this shower is riddled with mold.
I didn't know.
Insane, super
That-
weird.
Wow.
Very strange. But anyway, so she
Brittany
died. Who
Murphy-
she's replaced with?
Pink, of course, but of course.
Right. Sure.
Right. And you're George Miller was it was really sad. It was tragic. She was getting ready to record. She
Right.
passed a year before the film
Right.
came out. We had no choice. It's dedicated in her memory. And then Fat Joe is replaced with Common. Why? I don't know. Life's too short. Why make a second movie with Fat Joe? Common seems like a better option. Just the indignity of just being no, yeah, it's fine. We'll call you Fat Joe.
Why even
Right.
bring that character back?
Exactly.
He's in two
I know
scenes.
it's not like people are we need. Wait, I need to look up his character.
Well, no, but isn't he the father
we
now?
need Seymour.
He's got this is all I know about Happy
It's not
Feet 2.
clear.
Happy Feet 2 is kind of the next generation. And there's a little kid who looks just like Mumbles.
Doesn't Mumble have a son?
Right, who looks just like Baby Mumble,
Yeah.
voiced by the same actress E.G. Daily who voices young Mumble in this.
Sure.
And then Common has a
The
son.
voice of Tommy from Rugrats.
Right.
Correct? Yeah.
Who's also Dottie in Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Right. Sure.
But then the Fat Joe Common character also has a son who looks exactly like the little version of him from this movie, and is
Okay.
voiced by
I'm
the same
exhausted.
actor, a young rapper named Lil Peanut.
All right. Happy Feet. So
Happy Feet. What? Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say. So I am gonna lack the technical terms to get this right.
Mhm.
But other than the adult and child version of Mumbles who have textured fur, and when they're in the
feathers.
movie,
Sure.
no, but you see their fur and their feathers individually reacting to the weather. When they get wet, they look wet and whatever. Every other penguin in this movie is essentially a model they built without a lot of texture, and then they're essentially putting a skin on it that has texture painted onto it, which is like the equivalent of wearing a t-shirt that makes you look like you have six-pack abs. Which is one of the reasons all the penguins look bad, because when they're moving, their body's not distorting properly.
Right.
It's like you're stretching a still image.
But this is the biggest problem with this movie, and this movie's strange.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't look great. It's like many a mid-2000s animated film. It's just a little janky.
Which at the time people were like, "Can you believe what this thing looks like? They don't look like cartoons."
I'm not wrong in thinking the dancing was motion captured, right? Like that was part of the tech pitch at the time. Was like Savvy and Glover came in and did some great tap dance, and like we mapped that onto the penguin.
Which the animation community has always hated mocap films.
Sure, right.
And a lot of them have been snubbed for like best animated film, even when they were critically adored.
Right.
And so there was a whole campaign of being like, no, the movie is not mocapped. The stars who voice the penguins didn't do mocap. The mocap is just the dancing. Because he wanted the verisimilitude of these have to be the best tap dancers in the world. If penguins are going to tap dance, it has to be bring in the noise, bring in the funk level steps.
Also, another thing about Mumble's like aesthetic is he has not lost all of his baby feathers.
Sure.
Which, like, what and why?
Right.
Is that just another way to
just to
differentiate
distinguish
him from everyone
right.
else?
And give him kind of a teen energy, I suppose. It's interesting that the idea of him as an outcast, right? Because penguins can only have one kid.
Yes.
I mean, per year, but in this movie, it's really just like one kid.
But the idea, right.
The idea of like, this was our shot at an offspring. Our heart songs had united.
I let him roll
God,
away.
he's weird.
Right.
He can't sing. He's a dancer.
And it's a classic, like, kids movie, just kids story trope of like the point where it's like, everyone in this town does this thing the one way, or we all look this one way.
It's Footloose.
Yeah.
Right. And then one person is born the wrong way. And we like resist them and push them away until they ultimately teach us.
Right.
But that's handled very weirdly too.
Very weirdly.
Because when he's born, when Mumble is born, the movie frames it as though his feet and the way in which they behave it's almost framed as a disability.
Right.
But then that gets dropped quite quickly after that.
It takes over an hour for it to be like a form of artistic or emotional expression for him.
Right.
At first, it's like, does he have a neurological disorder? Like, what is going on here?
It's like a weird tick.
Right. He's just sort of like stomping about.
But then he, as a kid, it's like he has to hold it in, right? They're like, no, it's not cool. Don't do the
But
dancing.
also, the central premise of what is normal for this movie is so wild. And it drops you into the deep end where the movie just cold starts with fairly realistic looking, top of the line technology, 2006 penguins.
Big act, Nicole Kidman and Hugh Jackman, recognizable
movie stars.
Right? Yeah, Australian, so like George Miller-y stars, but still, right.
But like Nicole Kidman a couple years away from an Oscar, like Hugh in peak Wolverine era. And they're just fucking singing Prince to each other and removing the sexual words and replacing them with eggs and shit.
But sometimes not. There's like a lyric where they're like, I want to make love to you.
Yeah.
And it's like,
he sings, I'll make love to you.
Which has always, at least when we were kids, was acceptable. That had come into the realm of acceptable. You could say make love to a child. Like it could be in a commercial. You know what I mean?
Yes. But it's this very specific.
I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the way it went.
It's this very
now I'm
specific
Googling penguin mating.
Post Moulin Rouge thing to me. Where it's like every musical number is like Elephant Love Medley.
Right.
Where
it is very Moulin Rouge.
Every song is 8 songs.
Right.
Yes. Every song is the Shrek swamp karaoke.
The thing I think that's funny about penguins is also that they often will just go like that. They'll just kind of stretch it out.
David was doing what I can only describe as what he does when we're usually recording episodes.
But then he added a
right.
to
He
it.
shook his head, but otherwise was just outstretching his arms.
Here they go. Here they're gonna look. See, they're gonna fall.
Now it's going down.
They're kind of doing like they kind of nibble each other. They kind of like the beaks, they kind of groom each other's, and then it's sort of like you kind of just inch your way around.
Sure.
First you're face to face.
Oh,
and it's
okay.
kinda like-
Do they do the thing where they do it in the movie where like their heads kind of tilt downward and it forms a heart shape with their bodies?
It does
and their
not appear
beaks?
that choreographed.
Like a horrific looking heart, like an anemic squeezed heart.
Yeah, I guess it's just the old fashioned back, kind of just little penguin sandwich, right? Yeah, we
The
don't really see that.
old-fashioned penguin sandwich.
Well, when
that.
you watch a lot of like David Attenborough documentaries. But anyway,
But yes, the movie just like I feel like there's probably 5 or 6 minutes that elapse before a line of dialogue is spoken.
I think
yes.
so. Yeah.
And it is very strange that this came right after March of the Penguins,
Right.
because it's funny that basically anyone who'd seen March of the Penguins can just be like, yeah, I know what they do. I know they gotta all huddle up for a couple months with the eggs, the boys, and the girls are gonna go off and get the fishies.
By complete coincidence, this documentary that performs like a blockbuster film
Narrated by Morgan Freeman or whoever, right?
gives everyone all the frame of reference they need for the opening of this movie, and a documentary that like every kid saw.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yes, I mean the heart song thing is so strange because it's like it's elastic to the point where it's like, well, it's not just like mating calls, because it's also like this form of artistic expression, but it feels like it's a somewhat supernatural thing. Like it's almost like imprinting in the Twilight Saga, where it's like you have to find the one song and then that's your song forever. But also they sing multiple songs.
They also dance.
Yes.
Only tap dancing make you weird.
Is fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. Right. Most forms of dance are like, yeah, that's part of the routine.
Right.
But like, just that's secondary. Okay, heart song is primo.
And do you get to tap dancing because penguins have no legs and little feet? Like, was it just him being like, well, that would look funny?
It has to be. Right? They have little feet. It's funny.
It's little feet, no legs.
Right.
They're happy. The feet are happy.
The feet are happy.
Yeah.
What? So to me, the heart song thing was rooted in some science, right? Because isn't there a thing with the emperor penguins where like the babies can distinguish like their mother's
there's
voice
some
from
weird-
everyone else?
Yes,
So I was
there's-
like, okay, they build off that.
And birds have mating calls. That's like
And you'll see those
yeah.
gatherings of thousands of penguins, and the David
They
Attenborough will be
know
like,
how to
amazingly, they always know who their
Yeah.
parent is, even
But
though
what
they all
if-
look the same.
That's just what we think, but
Right.
they're just going to the wrong mate all the time.
And we're just like, yeah, definitely, those two are right.
Yeah, no question.
It's generally weird that there's Antarctica where there's nothing going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just like penguins are like, yeah, this is going to be our spot.
It's like a winter wasteland.
I have never seen a penguin. I'm assuming. I mean, except in the zoo.
Yeah, what are you
I've
talking
never seen
about?
like
You're
a
just
penguin in the
bragging about
wild.
seeing penguins all
Yeah,
the
the zoo,
time.
but like never.
You've never been to
I've never been to
Antarctica?
Antarctica, which you can, I suppose, go. I think it's like a
Humble
whole
brag, yeah.
thing. Because I went north. I went to Alaska, and there you see puffins.
You went to Alaska?
Yeah, you didn't know that about me. That was last year.
You went to Alaska last year?
Yeah, for
Did
a
I forget
wedding.
about this?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and then we stayed because it was like we're
made
in
it
there's
Alaska,
puffins there.
and there
Yeah.
are puffins.
Yeah.
And when you see puffins, it is like, oh my god, it's like the little cartoon animal that you kind of think might not even be real.
Well, that was the other reason you stayed out there, because you want to pitch them a book, right? I'm going to make this joke work.
It's
In
almost
some-
there.
It's almost
so
there. I'm
close.
gonna
I feel
find
like
some
that was
angle.
further, not close.
No, I think we're hovering.
all right.
We're going to find a landing spot.
Did you see a moose?
Saw some moose.
Oh,
Saw,
I've always wanted to see a
you know,
moose.
and you
I've
can
heard
see
they're
these guys.
huge.
You can see these guys. Saw bears.
Oh
both
my God.
In the wild and not. Which
Nice.
is- in the wild was a little much for me.
Grizzlies?
No grizzlies.
Okay.
I mean, I saw grizzlies in like a nature preserve, but
Okay.
not IRL. But I did see a black bear on a hike,
Uh-huh.
like real close to me, too close.
Did you see Russia?
And what's the other thing? Well, otters. I mean, you can see them in a lot of places, but they're just so damn charming. Those
Yeah.
otters.
Oh,
They're
where
pretty
are the
great.
movies about otters?
I know, give
They're
us an
so
otter movie.
cute.
Otters
They're
feel
very cute.
like
They have
penguin
hands.
adjacent in that they're just like innately funny animals.
They
Yeah.
are.
You're just like, I'll root for any otter.
I think I agree with that. And like in Alaska, they never shut up about otters because like they used to be everywhere, and then they got over hunted for
Yeah.
their fur, and now they're back.
Emmett Otter, great musician.
It's-
Still waiting for him to do a follow-up album.
but it's like they're tubby. They just lie on
Yeah.
their backs, and like they seem very charming. Anyway, so I
Uh-huh.
just like we're talking. Penguins are in that sphere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, the heart song, they're cool. They have a baby.
Right. The first 10 minutes are just the parents.
Yes.
And you see the men marching, doing the March of the Penguins around the Aurora Borealis.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're singing to each other, but as they sing, it's like projections come out of their mouths of their heads.
Of the penguin god.
Right.
Also, does the Aurora
The Great
Borealis
Wind.
happen in Antarctica? Isn't
Of course,
that like
it's called the Aurora Australis.
Oh,
But it is the
okay.
same basic phenomenon.
I see.
Yes.
He gets so distracted belting with his bros.
Sure.
After it's like, no,
I mean, it's boring. They got to stand there. It's boring.
Oh, don't forget he drops the egg.
Yes, right.
Which
He gets so
apparently comes back in a significant plot point.
it rolls and everyone's like, you know what they say. If an egg rolls away, you're fucked.
gonna have
You're done.
a bird who tap dances.
Right.
And that's, I guess, like if you were a dropped kid, you're going to have a bad life, right? That's what they're trying to say with that.
Oh, I guess so. It's like when you're a parent and you drop your kid and you're like, I fucked up. And
Yeah.
the kid's just fine. And
Right.
you're like, but what if I did something?
I had one glass of wine one time, and now I wonder anytime my son
and then
can't
when they're
do a
like
math
26,
problem.
you know, they have a gambling problem. You're like, because I dropped
I
it.
did the one drop.
Hey, I was dropped a bunch and I turned out fine.
Oh, you're killing it.
Your parents are like, look, honestly, every other week with you, we were just like, oops.
Yeah.
I rolled once off of my changing table and just onto the ground.
Wow.
I'm
And you
fine.
remember
This
this?
is recently?
Yeah.
We should mention that David's a big baby who wears big baby white diapers.
I'm a baby boss.
Ding dong.
Wow. There's something up with the doorbell.
Ding dong.
It's almost like that doorbell's been awake for 30 hours or something.
Ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
Okay, all right. Well, who's at the door?
Creak.
Oh, the door, too.
Hello.
Hello.
You know who it is.
I'm not sure I do.
Well, you might notice I'm standing 6 feet away from you right now.
Which is, that's proper and good. I'm glad you're doing it. Social distancing. We got to observe it right now.
What do you mean right now? This is a live ad read recorded at the time of this episode in studio.
Well, I just have a feeling that it's really going to be something we need to think about going forward. A nice 6 feet distance.
Well, that would be validating because I'm socially distanced Sam.
Oh, hi, socially distanced Sam.
Oh,
How are you doing?
Hey, put away that hand. I don't want to shake it.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was trying to offer an elbow for a little elbow bump, but even that's, I feel like, a little uncool right now.
I mean, I understand why I'm doing all this stuff, David, because it's like my brand. I'm socially distant. I don't quite get why you're doing all of this in mid-February.
This bit is so convoluted. I feel it in my bones. There's something going on.
2020. Well, look, this is what I was going to say. I need to avoid crowds any way I can right now, just for personal reasons.
Sure.
I'm socially distant, and I don't like talking to people in person, and I cannot get people on this new platform that I'm really into called Zoom.
Oh, I'm sure just with enough time and sort of, hard work, you can get people involved. But
It's weird. You switch between optimism and pessimism, but somehow both line up with my interests.
Well, I just want to say, if you have to avoid crowds any way you can, but what if you need postage to send out letters and packages? How do you deal with that?
I love sending letters.
Oh, you like to correspond?
Yes, just at a distance. I love to travel that distance via the mail.
Okay. Well, I have one suggestion of a way you could get around this, around going to the post office, which is you could use stamps.com.
What?
Because stamps.com prints postage on demand, helps you skip the lines and crowds at the post office, and you can even save some money with discounts that you can't even get at the post office.
Whoa, what? I was going to say this sounds like it will cost me more money.
Well, no, because stamps.com, it brings the services of the U.S. Postal Service right to your computer in the safety and comfort of your own home, okay? Or anywhere else that you might be hunkering down.
Okay.
So small business sending out invoices, online sellers shipping out products, it can handle it all with ease. You just use your computer. You print out official U.S. postage 24/7 for any letter, any package, any class of mail, anywhere you want to send it. You leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a free pickup, or drop it in a mailbox. There's no human contact required. But also, as I said, you get great discounts. You get 5 cents off every first-class stamp and 40% off USPS shipping rates. And now, in addition to all that, Stamps.com also offers UPS services with discount rates up to 62%. Plus, with Stamps.com, you don't even have to pay UPS residential surcharges, okay?
This sounds like a no-brainer. I'm just going to walk away, go to my computer at home at a safe distance, and just only use the discounts that are available to anyone using the site.
Well, okay. Well, right now, our listeners can get a special offer.
Well, that sounds like the opposite of what I just said.
Well, that's why I'm interrupting you.
Okay,
it includes
thank
a 4-week trial plus free postage and a digital scale without any long-term commitment. You just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in check. That's Stamps.com, enter check. Stay safe, my friends.
Well, thank you. I don't understand. That's kind of ominous of you to say, but I appreciate the no commitment thing because I'm also emotionally distant, Sam.
Oh, I'm sorry. Well,
I'm bad at staying in relationships.
right. You sort of got sort of a fear of commitment.
Look, I can see you and Griffin and your guest, Caitlin Durante, all seem to be plugging your ears right now as if my voice is driving you crazy.
Your voice is something that it might take a little bit of work to get used to, but everyone's special in their own way.
You understand why I'm a little bit socially distant, because people don't really like being in the same room listening to this for too long. Anyway, I'm going to leave. Bye!
So he drops the egg, as you said, Caitlin.
Yeah.
And he's worried about that, but the egg hatches. Seems to be normal.
Well,
enough
first they
baby.
think it's not going to hatch.
Right.
Right.
Which is a plot point in March of the Penguins. You see sometimes the egg don't hatch, and that's real sad.
And he's like, I fucked this up. I ruined this. And then tip, tip, tap, 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 tip,
Yeah.
tap, from inside the egg.
And wait, did someone? What's it? Brittany
Gloria.
Murphy comes over to tap on it. Baby Brittany Murphy.
Yeah,
Right.
little Gloria.
And she names him.
Yeah.
Right.
She's like, I'm not your parent. I'm another baby, but I'm naming this other
Right.
baby penguin.
Name him Mumbles because he can't talk that well. Guess what? He's a fucking baby. He just was born. Give him a break.
100%. And so then you have Baby Mumbles. This, to me, the high point of the movie.
The cutest thing.
Just pretty cute.
The ad campaign for this movie was 90% Baby Mumbles.
Right. The poster is the baby, even though it's only like 20 minutes. Like,
I
it's
know.
not like a lot.
The trailers for this film were mostly just isolated musical
But
numbers.
when he's just like a little guy who's like, I just want to dance. Like that, I'm like, yeah, I love this penguin. I'm all in.
But I remember like going to see whatever Harry Potter movie it was at midnight, not
Okay.
knowing this film was being made.
Sure.
The teaser trailer comes up, which is Robin Williams with a Speedy Gonzalez accent
Oh my god.
singing My
We're
Way.
getting to it.
No, but don't worry. The other character he plays is Barry White. But it was him singing My Way in Spanish, but it was a different animated sequence. It's not what's in the movie.
Sure.
They animated a different sequence just for the
Just for
teaser.
the trailer. Yeah.
And then when he hits the high note, the camera zooms down his throat, and the Happy Feet logo is his uvula.
Great.
Ew.
Great. Cool.
And the whole audience was
Chill.
like giggling and like loved it. And I was like, what? We're all just accepting this? What the fuck is this? And it was one of those like coming next year. Like it was like a far away teaser. And I was like, I have no idea what this movie is. I imagine once we get closer to the release, it will make sense to me. And then the trailers were still just penguins dancing. And people would say, oh, I can't wait to see that cute penguin dancing movie.
This
and,
is what I'm saying. Penguin.
and I just went, what's the fucking movie about? What happens
They
to the rest of the
dance.
movie?
What's the matter with you? You don't like a dancing penguin?
But this is the point.
Dancing Gwen?
I walk into the theater, and at this point in the film, I'm going, what is this about? What is this? What's going to happen now?
They fucking dance.
Well, they hate that he dances.
They don't like that he dances. He's
yeah.
in the singing group and he can't sing. It's no good, but he does dance. But they're just like, can
And
it,
Memphis
buddy,
is like,
can
"Just
it?"
don't fucking show this to people. Like,
Right.
don't do this around other people.
Right.
You got Gloria, who's sort of like the valedictorian of the of the brood, right? She's the best singer.
Sure. Her and Fat Joe.
Although when she like does her little, she's like, I figured out what my heart song was.
Right.
Here it is. It's like not that good.
No.
It's not. Yeah, Brittany Murphy.
I think
A
she
great
was
singer.
I
She's a
think
good
she was
singer.
a good singer.
As an
Yeah.
adult, yes,
Yes,
Gloria
yes.
is. But then like when
But
she's like a
kid Gloria,
baby,
right?
I mean,
It's
need to be like kids are bad at stuff. But
right. It's a little try hard.
But this is like an incredibly long classroom sequence where after we've been watching penguin behavior for 20 minutes, suddenly Professor Miriam Margolis like grinds the movie to a halt and is like, I'm going to explain all of this.
right.
These are the rules of our society.
And she's playing like a sort of grande dame with like a European sort of affect, right?
Is this the other teacher that they take him to?
Miss Astrakhan.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Because
Right.
everyone's just trying to correct this kid's
Mm-hmm.
weird feet.
Yeah, he's got happy feet.
Well, to them, they're viewing them as,
Sad feet.
yeah.
And then
Bad
there's
feet even.
the sequence. Thank you, Ben. Where
They think they're crappy feet.
They think the feet stink.
where
They hate 'em.
Where he encounters
No good stinky poo
a
poo feet.
flock of squaw,
Yes.
one of whom has been tagged
right.
by
this happened so early.
scientists.
Yeah.
He's got
Now
a
they
little
are
yellow-
in the mafia.
We
should just point out they're in the
talk
bird mafia.
like gangsters.
You have
The main one is
and
voiced
Anthony
by Anthony
LaPaglia.
LaPaglia, who's played many a mobster.
I just
right?
want to point out this is
Anthony
largely
LaPaglia.
Australian film from an Australian
He's an
filmmaker,
Australian actor.
animated by an Australian special effects house. You have 4 big Australian actors in it, and none of them are doing Australian accents.
Right.
Like Kidman and Jackman are doing
They're doing
Southern.
broad American accents.
Hugo
right.
Weaving is like Scottish,
Yeah.
and Anthony LaPaglia is doing Brooklyn.
But
He's
what
like
do we
the
know?
great Gwen.
Yeah,
But what do we know about Anthony LaPaglia? One of the many things about him, but
What?
what role did he not get to play that he was the first choice for?
Tony Soprano,
Tony Soprano. He was like a go-to mobster in the
and
90s.
he kind of, I think, never got over turning
It's
that down.
tough to. I think it was scheduling. He was busy making, not The Soprano. He was like doing A View from the Bridge on Broadway or something like that.
Are you aware that the plot of Analyze That is that
Yes.
De Niro gets hired to be a consultant on a show that is clearly The Sopranos, and Anthony LaPaglia is the lead actor playing the guy
Yes.
who's a very self-serious Australian actor who's a diva and keeps on halting production.
But wasn't he also? He was supposed to play Al Capone in Road to Perdition, and they cut that scene.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's there talking about alien abduction.
This scene,
The thing that's interesting about this is this is the only thing I want to highlight, that they're like the bird's going to kind of treat being tagged as
Yeah.
alien abduction, and then someone else is clearly just leaning in and like, and they should kind of be like mobsters. Like, why do these two things do not mesh?
but also this is the first scene
It's
in
like
the movie.
mobsters talk about alien.
This is the first scene in the movie where they're introducing a major element.
They're
that was-
introducing non-penguin, right?
Right, outside of the
basically. Yeah, yeah,
basic pitch for this movie, which is these penguins sing and dance. Suddenly there's this alien thing.
Right.
And you're like, this scene is very menacing. It has a very different tone. You feel like they're maybe going to eat him. And when he escapes and goes back to the singing and dancing stuff, you're like, well, that has to be in there for a reason. Where the fuck is this movie going?
Right. But it drops off for a long
An
hour?
time.
I would
Yeah,
say
30 or
long
40 minutes
time.
at least.
And then also in that, so this scene functions to do a few things. One is that it's sort of ever so slightly establishes that fish are scarce
Uh-huh.
because the mob boss bird is like, oh, yeah, usually I don't eat penguins, but there aren't a lot of fish right now. But I was like,
yes.
That's the
But
first time they bring it up, right?
but
Yeah.
it feels like such a throwaway line and
Right.
not a major plot point, which it
Right,
ends
which
up being.
the vibe with Happy Feet is that though, right? Where they're like
Yes.
they sort of and then later they're like, remember when we said that? That's actually been going on this whole time.
Right.
They'll pick
But
stuff
we don't
up.
see that on screen at
No.
all. The
No.
penguins are never struggling to find
No,
you
the
never-
mom isn't like, it was tough finding out
Like-
in the ocean today. Right.
Like in the beginning of Moana, for example, they're like, all the fish are gone. We've
Right.
been fishing and the traps are turning up empty and our coconuts are diseased. Like that establishes visually what's going on.
and you do have to consider those coconuts.
You
just
must
FYI.
consider the
You gotta
coconuts.
Must consider the coconuts.
And
Consider
they're
their
trees.
leaves.
And it's actually true.
I always
Remember,
fuck this up.
it's better if it's leaves, but it's trees.
Oh, no, this is why I fuck it up. It's consider the coconut, consider the
I think
trees, and then the second one is the trunks and its
and
leaves.
its
Yeah.
leaves, yeah.
Anyway, I've considered the coconut thoroughly.
But yes, this movie does not really consider the coconut being overfishing,
Right.
that much. It just kind of peppers in occasional references.
Right, and then you'll get, like, when they go back to the Hugo Weaving character, him sort of constantly talking about the Great Gwyn, this god who has a plan for them, they should invest all of their belief into the fact that everything he's doing is for a reason, and if they're being punished, it's because they're not showing him enough.
And he thinks that
Loyalty?
the happy feet, the tap dancing,
Right.
is angering the Great Gwyn.
Right, it's an offense.
Yes.
Right.
Which is also where, to
Another
me, the
thing
queer
that comes
reading
in
comes
and out.
in.
Yeah, sure. But like the religiousness
Right.
sometimes is just sort of the more vague, footloosey, like, hey, look, communities can be insular.
We're
and
different.
sometimes gets a
Right.
little more
Because
like
sometimes it's
codified.
like, you are spiting God.
Right.
You have to believe me. I promise you, God hates this. Right. And then his dad is like, oh, I can't have a son who God hates. Like, that relationship feels very, like, Boy Erased to me. But then
Nicole Kidman.
But then sometimes it's not that at all. Sometimes they just use the metaphor in, like, 8 other ways.
Nicole Kidman. Do you think she drew from Boy Erased? Do you think she was drawing from Happy Feet? She was like watching it on her phone, being like, right.
Right.
It is just funny that there are multiple kids animated movies that are like, falling in love is simple. It's just one person and it's just magic. And when you find them, bang, that's it.
Right, because you don't want to talk about sexual attraction.
Right,
you have
right.
to be
So it's
like, there's
just
a
like,
magical force that unifies two people and then a
Right.
baby is born.
Anyway.
So that scene
Squaw
also,
sequence. Yes, yeah.
it also sort of establishes something that I guess Mumble's going to use later on, which is the idea of appealing to their better nature.
Right.
So it sets that up, but again, that's dropped off on, like, that doesn't come back again until the end of the movie. And then it's like we've got this sort like Randy Quaid from Independence Day, except instead he's in the mafia.
Yeah.
He's like aliens.
Yes, this is all true. And then I feel like after this little sequence, which involves him like falling into a crevice and escaping the squaws.
Right.
I just love saying squaw.
It feels like this chunk of the movie, essentially through to the first hour, is doing like an expedited riff on The Lion King.
Sure.
Where it's like he's a threat to his kingdom, he is ostracized, he goes off on his own, he gets lost, then he finds his weird group of wacky.
That's the thing. The
comic
next
relief
big
friends.
thing is that he's as a teen, there's a leopard seal attack and he's sort of separated and he meets the amigos.
Oh, but wait, before that. Okay.
Sure.
Because I've beat by beat
You've thrown
been
notes.
like, what is happening? So suddenly, Mumble has been in love with Gloria his whole life.
Loves her.
Yes.
Very suddenly,
Right.
his whole life. And there's like this whole horny sequence where all the other males are singing to Gloria.
Yes, yeah, right. Because she's sort of the
and
belle of the ball. Right.
She's the belle of the ball, and Mumble can't sing, so he's like, well, I don't have a chance with her. And then they like banish him because he's singing too shitty.
Yeah, his singing. I mean, to be fair, his singing is pretty intolerant.
Pretty fucking
I don't
horrific.
enjoy it.
No.
If it is a singing-based community, I would want him out.
But they sort of mock him and like
Yeah,
bully
they're
him.
mean to him,
And then
you
he
know.
ends up on this like ledge and then he tap dances and it breaks the ice.
Sure, that's
and
true.
he's just sort of stuck floating.
Well, and then you have the seals, right? That's when the seals.
That's when the seals
knock
show
him
up.
around,
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
when he runs into the
Latinx penguins.
or Spanish. I mean, the biggest save you can do for what's happened with Robin Williams.
You're
here is
like,
that
they're cotillion?
they're-
I don't-
right, exactly. Let's just say they're European Spanish.
Right.
But I don't. It does. No,
don't
I
think
agree. I don't think you can really pull that off.
It is kind of incredible not to sully the name of the dead.
No, and also like. It's from his 80s sort of stand-up persona
this
where
is
he's
what
like,
I was gonna
can do
say.
a million voices,
When
right?
people like talk about like Robin Williams, and when anyone does a Robin Williams impression, part of a Robin Williams impression is randomly going into quote unquote black voice, Mexican voice,
Very much
and
the-
gay voice.
Yes.
Right? Like it's always
yes,
like,
yep,
you know, it's
yep.
like he said, oh, baby, come on to me. Like, hey, well, I don't know about that. And then you
Right.
go back to like, oh, like it's
Yes.
always
Oh, oh,
that
oh, oh.
rotation.
I just love doing that.
And I even
Sorry.
remember like when I started doing stand up like 10 years ago and
Humble brag.
mumble brag.
I was gonna say.
You finally landed one.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. When you were doing stand-up a while ago.
When I was doing stand-up a while ago, I'm only pointing out it was 10 years ago to talk about a cultural shift.
Sure.
But in like 2009,
Yeah.
I remember people saying like, "Oh, this guy's great. Have you seen him before? He does like amazing impressions."
About you?
No, about other,
Robin Williams?
not about me. About other comics,
Oh,
right?
okay,
Who were
sure,
like
sure,
on the open
Right,
mic scene. They'd be
right,
like,
right.
"This guy does incredible impressions."
Uh-huh.
And I'd say like, "What impressions does he do?" And they'd go like, like Asian voice.
Wait, what? They would just say that?
Yes, I
Okay.
have that specific memory, and I remember people saying
Jesus.
things like that. But that's a very specific conversation, and it was a thing where it used to just be like, "Oh, that's an asset if you can do impressions of the other races," which is a thing that Robin Williams drove straight into, like the fucking stratosphere, like became America's favorite for doing.
But it's just right. It's interesting to think about how when we were kids, we're all, similar age.
Yes.
pretty much. We were not guaranteed Robin Williams in every animated film we saw, but it was definitely a possibility. And if he was in it as
strong
kids, we were like, I know that. That's the genie.
Right.
Like when he's in Fern Gully, they're just like, just do your thing. Like, come on. Like, and then the Robin Williams type is just a type in animated movies, but he often would just be in the movie.
Right. And then this movie is, no, he's doing two characters. The characters aren't Robin Williams. Each character is kind of one of his go-to.
Right. So they're like, can you be in
Offensive
our animated
character.
movie? And he's like, oh, yes, of course. I
Right.
just did robots.
Want me to
DreamWorks
do all the
is
voices?
robots.
I'll do all of them.
And they're like, sure. And can you do, some of your stand-up personas? How about you do that? And he was like, great, yes.
But like silo two of the personas
Sure.
off.
Yeah.
Have them in scenes together
Mhm.
where it's just you
Right.
as two different cultural types that you are not.
And then he's also the narrator, which the narration comes in and out in really
Yeah.
sporadic times in the movie.
The narration is
Why?
completely unnecessary.
So unnecessary.
But then it's sort of implied that the narrator is Lovelace,
Lovelace?
which is kind of
Yes.
like in Aladdin, how the merchant at the beginning
Right, right.
is
Yeah.
also Robin Williams and is maybe the genie in disguise.
Boy, oh boy. So you've got the Amigos, who are just some penguins, a little daily penguins who are become his bros,
let's
and they
say
like the dancing.
The other voice actors, I believe, are exclusively people who should be playing characters.
I believe
with this
they
accent.
are
Yeah,
all
they're
like
all
Carlos
Latino.
Alcaraz.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yes, 100%. But also Robin Williams.
Yes.
But also
As-
Robin Williams.
Ramon.
Or Ramon.
Apparently, he also plays someone called Cletus. I don't remember
He's
a
got
Cletus.
3 characters.
Well, if you include the narrator, 4.
Jeez.
And
It's
then,
a weird thing where he's like first and 8th billed in this movie. He's got like multiple separate
It's-
billings in the opening credits.
And then they meet quickly. They meet Lovelace, a rockhopper penguin with a 6-pack ring around his neck.
Right. Who's
Who
his
is,
own type of religious leader.
Who's
he-
basically
Yes.
like more of like an outsider cult leader type, right? Like kind of like a
Revival
revival
tent.
tent guy.
Right.
Right.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And he's all about the pebble. You got to bring a pebble to him. For one pebble, you get any question.
Because the thing about
And we're like halfway through. There's
Okay.
still plenty more.
because with these penguins, their breeding is that the penguins with the males with the biggest, the stoniest nest,
We love a stony nest.
the females are attracted to
They're like, great,
the nest
I
with
can
the
put an
most
egg right here.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right.
I love my stone.
Which is very logical, I will say. That's like that.
Sure.
It's just building a home, right? It's like I'm a good provider. I built you a great old rocky nest here.
Right. But he's like, I'm a messiah and I
Right.
need my payment is pebbles
Right.
for my. So he's just like, and he has so many ladies. He's got a little entourage,
He's got the
little
most
groupies.
pebbles.
Yeah. Right.
Because
So
I
that's
believe
the
the Don
logic
Bluth,
there.
the Pebble and the Penguin, also about pebble hunting penguins, right?
Okay.
Right? Yeah, 90s.
I think there's a
forgotten 90s
Disney
animated
nature documentary too that came out within the past couple of
Sure.
years that I think largely features this type of
Disney's
penguin.
Penguins, I believe it was
Yes,
called,
indeed.
right? Yeah,
I
something
did
like
see it
that.
in the theaters.
And how was it?
It was quite. I didn't like Ed Helms as a narrator. I'm going to be honest. I like him
No
as
offense to
a
him,
as a
but
comedic
sure,
persona generally, but wasn't a fan of his narration really.
That is where all of those Disney nature documentaries fail.
Yeah,
Is
because Tim Allen did one about chimpanzee, and
which
like,
I was so fucking amped for chimpanzee.
Same.
It looks so great from the trailer. Then you watch the movie, and it's a bunch of
He
Tim Allen doing the grunt
ruins
bits.
it.
Yeah.
He ruined it.
So weird.
Wait, can we backtrack for a second? So, Mumble has been like banished, or he feels unwelcome, so he leaves his community, but he still has like parents who love him.
Sure. I mean, I mean, his dad not very understanding, but it's true. They want him to be around.
Yeah.
They're not banishing him explicitly.
But they go through the Lion King motion without there being the same kind of tragedy.
There's no tragedy.
catalyst.
There's
Yes,
no
it's
reason for
true.
him to exile himself.
He just kind of goes on like a sort of rumspringa. He meets some new people, and then when he comes back, he's like, all right, plan A, I'll lip sync to Ramon sinking My Way.
But this is what's so crazy is I remember watching this in the theater for the first time, and even watching
but
it
real
last night.
Spanish, you know?
Right. Watching it last night for the first time since I saw it in the theaters, I was like, right, so I remember the end is super weird, but I guess this is the next hour of the film is them slowly making their way back, facing multiple dangers. He bonds with his 7 Mexican Timons and Pumbas. And then he comes back and he teaches them all a lesson about acceptance and he saves the day, right?
But he teaches them a lesson by first trying to hide his,
this is the point.
his difference.
Right.
All of
with
what
the
I
lip
thought
sync
would
routine.
take up the rest of the movie takes up 15 minutes.
Oh no, there's still right, and then there's just still
He
another
makes it
like
back
act
home.
and a half, right?
Before the hour mark,
Yeah.
he does his fake Cyrano routine.
That doesn't work.
With Ramon singing for him. And then they're like, you fucking freak. Now we're casting you out.
But then he tap dances,
But, right.
Yeah.
to Boogie Wonderland.
Yeah.
And she
And,
loves him now.
She
That worked
loves
for
him.
her.
She's so
The
resistant.
elders are still like,
Right.
nuh-uh, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
But we also we skipped another part where
did we?
I guess. So as he's still hanging out with his little
pals,
his shorter
his-
friends,
Right.
he sees this large piece of quote alien human
Right.
machinery, and he's like,
Right.
"Wait
Yes.
a minute!"
Like there's a big bulldozery kind of
yeah.
thing. Right. Yeah.
and
yeah.
he's like, "Is this what's eating our fish or
Right.
something?"
Which sort of like kind of like,
Right. So that's like the inciting. This happens like over 40 minutes into the movie. That feels like an inciting incident of one of the 3 different storylines that is
Right.
unfolding in this movie.
Yeah.
And then he goes back to and he's like, "But there's aliens out there. They're real, and I'm gonna go out there and figure out what's up with
It's
them."
true.
Which confirmed for me that there wasn't going to be real aliens.
so you were still hoping
Oh,
like
I
these
was like,
squaws just got
yes.
nabbed by little green men.
Yeah, I had a whole different movie
So
in
just
my
like
mind.
a cartoon fake bird in a fake movie talking about aliens, you're just immediately like, guys, I think aliens are real. This
Great Kazoo's
confirms
going to
it.
show up any minute now.
No, it is funny to think that, right, it's like he's an outcast, he leaves, he comes back, and then he leaves again.
Yeah.
Like that is a very strange
And the
story
first time it's
structure.
sort of like he leaves on a whim and he comes
Yeah.
back with like half a plan
And
of
then
like,
they're
I'll
like,
do the one song and
defi-
then take it from there.
Definitely go. And Gloria's like, I should come with you. And he's like, no, I'm
He
going to like
negs her.
humiliate
Yeah.
you to
Into-
keep you away from me.
Because, like, God forbid
'Cause
that
I'm
there be a female
radioactive.
character with any sort of, narrative
Well, because
significance.
Robin Williams
in the
has his
story.
way in at least a few times in every piece of dialogue.
Yeah.
He's got-
But Caitlin, there's no room for the woman in the film to speak more. Robin Williams has 5 different characters
right,
that
you're
all
right,
need
you're
to
right.
speak in this one scene. But this is when his dad disowns him.
Yeah.
Because Hugo
This is when they're
Weaving-
like, okay, you're not good.
right now they're like, actually now please leave.
Right.
And then now for the first time an hour into the movie, he's like, I have things to prove.
Right.
Yeah.
Because at that point you're like, is it solving the fish problem?
No,
is
at
it
this
proving
point,
that aliens are real?
This is when
is it making
Lovelace
tap
is
dance
like,
happen?
I got this weird
the soda
the
can.
soda
well,
can
this is
thing.
when they go back
This is
to
what I'm saying.
Lovelace.
He's like,
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
I actually got it from like way out there beyond the seal.
Because he's been saying like this is a necklace that was bestowed upon me
It's like
because
a
I rule.
talisman.
right.
like
He-
a
he
religious
admits it,
artifact.
right? And so Mumble, rather than being like, all right, fun fact, don't care, is like, I guess my answers will also be available if I
Right.
go on that same journey, even though there's nothing about Lovelace's, behavior that suggests that Mumble should be like, this is the guy I want to like, mimic.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to unpack all this. I'm sorry. It doesn't.
No,
I know it like
same.
for a kid, they're just like, yeah, sure, he goes somewhere else. It's fine.
But
Griffin
he's
Playful.
he's
I'm sorry.
like this alien, what he interprets to be like an alien artifact that is
Right.
stuck around his neck, is now suddenly choking him. Before it was fine. I don't know what changed.
Nothing's really changed.
But
Yeah, he ate too many pebbles. They all went to his neck.
Yeah, fair enough.
But I do think in terms of like the story beats this movie is hitting, so many of them are so classical, right?
Yeah.
And like finding Lovelace choking is sort of like the Wizard of Oz, like man behind the curtain moment, where it's like, oh,
Right.
this guy is just kind of like a weak, scared little man. And then rather than that being the reveal of like, oh, maybe all these ideologies are false. They're like, you're part of the skeleton crew now.
Right.
Come with us, help us find the answers we need. Like, it doesn't sort of remove Lovelace of any power. They're still kind of using him as a compass.
Because they need Williams on board, I guess. Is right.
well,
just to do
But
jokes.
there's already
to do bits.
another character that he's voicing.
The thing made $200 million. Huge. Who am I to judge? No. It is bizarre. And eventually they go to the Forbidden Shore, and that's
you
when
have
they
this
find
big
the fishing
action
boat.
sequence.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Where
With all these orcas.
Yeah, which I don't like. It's too cute. We were
'cause
talking about it, off
It
mic.
seems like
Are
the
they
orcas
helping?
are
Are they
almost
trying to
helping
eat?
him,
Yeah.
but
Because there's all these sort of like synchronized, they're sort of batting
they're
them back
doing like
and
a
forth.
SeaWorld kind of show.
Right. It's weird.
I also think it always gets weird in talking animal movies.
When some animals can't talk?
Yeah.
It's true. What's the logic there?
and like the fish
Why can't
thing-
Sharptooth talk and Land Before Time?
Right.
Because he's bad?
Yeah.
He can talk. The others talk.
But we'll like get to it eventually. But the end of the movie, when they're just all fucking chowing down on fish, when they're throwing fish in the air and eating the shit out of them, I'm like, so did they just not have any interiority, these
This
fish?
is a great question.
I mean, right.
There are some animals, obviously, right? That scientists are like, these animals kind of seem to have some sort of level of thought going on,
But
and others are, all instinct. I
The
don't know.
only other thing I know about Happy Feet 2 is that Matt Damon and Brad Pitt play krill.
Yes.
So it feels like he's saying, no, even the little things are alive
Right,
and they have
right,
their
right,
own little
right.
weird quirks.
In Finding Nemo, all species speak, right? There's no nonverbal.
Even the krill too. Yeah.
right?
'cause-
They all
Right.
talk.
Yeah.
Well, and like
yeah.
the whale doesn't
The
speak
whale
in
speaks
English,
whale
but Dory
language.
communicates with the whale. Right.
Yeah, of course.
Shouldn't the plants talk?
Great.
This is
Wow.
great. This is a great curveball throw. The movie should throw it in late because this movie's in understuffed.
This is why he's our finest film critic. And we're submitting that question for the Pulitzer this year.
But I will say, so this is where the movie takes full on swing into nightmare
Right.
when he's put in the zoo,
Yes.
right?
Right. He decides I'm going to swim towards the boat because I need to come back with an answer. I need
Right.
to figure out what's going on here. I need to solve this. Suddenly, there is so much narrative urgency to we need to solve the fish problem.
Right.
And you're
Well,
like,
he was
right,
banished,
the
Griff.
fish problem? Yes, but the banishment
The fish
is
problem,
like,
and also let's figure out what the aliens are,
right.
and his punishment essentially is, zoo imprisonment.
Which I think a lot of movies do this kind of thing where it's like, oh, the main characters are misinterpreting a thing as a different thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like the aliens in Interstellar. But as we said, they show you human technology so early on that you're like, I'm way ahead of them. I know these are fucking humans.
Right.
We're not going to see
But
some
I didn't
almond
think-
eye aliens
No,
around
I know.
here.
Well, Ben clearly did.
You didn't think you were going to see live action human beings.
That's the thing that is, and I also just didn't think he was going to go to the zoo. It just seems like it's too far away in a weird sort of a way. You know what I mean?
Because he swims towards the boat.
Right.
He gets caught in the net. Then they use some horrifying looking
Hook to peel him off. And then he keeps swimming after the boat for where do they end up? Australia?
Right,
Like
they-
where does he end? Like
Cut to black,
Great
wakes
questions,
up.
all.
and then there's narration that's like he swam farther beyond that anyone could imagine. And then suddenly he's either in LA or like on the coast of us, like some
Who knows?
Australian city.
all possibilities, all solid
With
ideas.
the dialects in
Maybe
this movie,
South
who knows
America?
where they are? Right.
But just that scene where he's all like dazed and drugged and like out of his mind.
Well, it feels like the Truman Show, like him like
Right.
touching the walls and like
and
recognizing
trying
the
to communicate
painting
with the people, but also not
and the
knowing what they
glass.
are.
And then
One of the
that's-
penguins is just hypnotized.
The thing about all of this
Oh,
is
what's
this
the
is
penguin?
a
It keeps on saying,
great-
Dave, the fish are great, Dave.
Right.
Dave.
This is a great idea for a movie.
Yeah.
I just don't know if it's a great idea for like 5 minutes at the end of a kid's
You're
movie
just
that's
like, I
been about
can't believe this
dancing.
is going here. And the first moment when, and especially considering this is like 2 years before Wall-E, the first moment when, an hour and a half into this movie, he swims towards the glass and you see the reflection of a human face.
Right.
And
And
you're
they
like, am I
look
imagining
not
things?
CG.
Right. You're
Right.
like, is this like really realistic CG? And then they cut back to the ultra angle and you're like, no, they're just real people in this movie now.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what if Billy Elliot 90 minutes in got like captured and imprisoned
By CGI penguins.
for 10 minutes and then he danced for them and they were like, oh, Oh, you're one of those. Get him out of here.
This insane.
Get some scientists.
But then there's a good amount of time that's just him losing his sanity.
Yeah, it's only a few minutes, but for this movie, it just feels.
It is twice as long as the amount of time they spend showing the UN making planet-changing decisions. That montage is all of 45 seconds, and it's gavel, speech, news broadcast.
What if there had been a penguin UN in this movie? That would have been fun. You could have had all the species.
You can't spell penguin without UN.
Good point.
Wow.
I mean,
Happy Feet 3.
But that's what's so crazy is you go into like sort of two montages that are narrated. One of him losing his mind, hallucinating his friends there, hitting the wall,
throwing fish against the wall to feed them,
seemingly becoming borderline suicidal or at the very least like brain dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like he says like he lost his mind.
Yeah.
Right. And then he just has this one little tap comes out.
Well, because there's a little girl's tapping on the glass.
She's making the beat.
Which you're not supposed to do, but in this movie
actually
saves his
good.
life.
Yeah.
They always say don't tap on the glass.
Yeah.
And this girl's
It's
practicing.
because they don't want the penguins
That's
to
right.
start tap
They don't want to
dancing, and
acknowledge their
it's gonna-
intellectual dancing capabilities.
Right.
Tap.
So he does the dancing, and they're like, of course, we should have realized that this penguin belongs in the Antarctic because he dances.
All of this happens within less than 10 minutes. From the moment he
This is the
swims
problem.
towards the boat to then him getting noticed, the girl leaving, bring back her mom, a bigger crowd, then it's filmed, it goes viral, the entire world comments on it. They place a locator, a tracking device on him, bring him back home so they can figure out if it's his species or not.
You're right.
Because they're like, if penguin are dancing, they must be trying to tell us something.
Okay, here's the other crazy part about this. So they bring him back. He shows up to his community. He like just arrives. He's like, all right, the aliens, they're real. They are taking our fish. And they're like, what's that weird thing on your back? He's like, I don't know, but I think it's to help them find me. And then
And they're like, proof, alien technology.
right. And then meanwhile, Noah's like, I don't know what's happening. But then the thing starts beeping. And then some live action humans show up. But they had just dropped him off. Wouldn't they already be right there?
They're at the
Time
opposite
is
cliff.
a very sort of fungible object in Happy Feet. I don't really know.
But he gets
their arrival is enough for people to be like, turns out aliens are real, let's do a dance.
Because he gets into this logical argument with Hugo Weaving where he's like, you know, like, we shouldn't work with the aliens. It's like, I thought you said aliens weren't real. And he's like, they're not, and that's why we shouldn't work with them.
Right.
And then everyone starts to recognize he's a liar, and they're like, well, if this guy's lying, maybe we should fucking tap dance. Like, there's this.
Yeah, and I guess the concept is it's been within them all along. They're all good dancers.
Well, because cut back to like a half hour or so earlier when he comes back, he tries to sing the song that Ramon's actually like singing.
He has this
My Way,
momentary
right,
burst
right,
of
right.
confidence in the
And
tap.
then he's
Yes,
tap,
right,
and then
right.
the whole
like,
community
Gloria,
gets
please.
on board.
Right.
They're like, actually, this tap thing is cool.
has
They all
rules.
start dancing, and then it's not until like Noah, the evil, like the religious zealot alien or penguin, is like
he makes them feel shame.
right, and
for
then
living their
and then
truth.
his dad is like, you're dumb, and then that's when he leaves again. But there's a moment where like the community is on board.
Right, that's the other thing that has to happen within this 10-minute strike is he comes back and before he sells everyone on tap dancing, he's like, where's my dad? And they're like, you don't want to see what's happened to your dad. And you're like, is the
right.
dad like half dead? Has he been like attacked? And instead
I was
he's
like,
just,
is he drinking now?
right, like what's going on? No, he's just sad in a cave.
Yeah, he's just sitting in the cave.
And he goes,
Being
son,
a bummer.
I ain't ever done right by you one day your entire life. And then he's just like,
Jackman's selling it.
I love you. I'm glad you're back. Let's fucking tap dance,
Yeah,
baby.
Jackman like putting some spit on the ball. You know, he wants some real English on that final line reading. Another thing,
But it's just like
to,
immediately.
But there's
the dad
also,
has done all of the emotional work of coming to terms with his son in the time
Off-screen.
the son was gone.
Right.
The son arrives and he's like, I'm glad you're here, and not a moment too soon. I fully accept you. You don't have to say anything.
the other moment you have to have is where Fat Joe shows up, and it's sort of like when you return to your hometown, kind of
Right.
like
And
oh my
your high school
childhood
sweetheart.
crush, right? Like,
Are those all
and
yours?
it's like, are they together? And it's like, no,
Just kidding.
Get out of here.
Yes,
We're
they're
teachers
mine.
now.
Our students. Yeah,
I thought that was all her kids.
they're her students. I mean, They are her
So
children.
you thought that
Exactly,
they
she's
had
an
like
educator.
coupled and had a bunch of babies together.
Yeah.
And then also started a school to teach only their biological children.
What then stuck out to me later is
Yeah.
when they kiss. I'm like, oh my god, she's cheating.
On Fat Joe, no less.
Yeah.
The fattest of the Joes. But then, this is where, like,
And he's actually, because Jealous Ones do still envy.
sure.
That was his album.
But when he's
So
in...
it's good to have him play someone that you might be envious of.
What a great title.
Jealous Ones still envy.
When he's in the zoo
Jose?
and he's trying to
Not a
yell
player I just
Yeah.
crush a lot.
at the zoo goers,
Right.
like,
Who, by the way, are all like half of them are stylized to look like they're from like the 50s or 60s.
yes,
And then everyone else is like modern.
they're weird, like, Babe Pig in the City humans, where they're, like, very heightened.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, they're very made up. The performances are very big. And
Someone like
especially-
gets on his cell phone. He's like, "Have you heard about this? These
Right.
dancing penguins?" And
Right.
it's like,
It
what
reminds
era are
me.
you from?
It reminds me of the hula hoop montage from Hudsucker Proxy. It's like, this hula hoop's out of control. These penguins are tap dancing. Extra,
Like the
extra.
flashes almost are like the kind of like where they would take the light bulb out and throw it.
Right.
Like it's got that vibe.
And it's
Yeah.
like crazy Dutch angles, like fading into each other. Just be like, I think we shouldn't feed the penguins. I think we
but,
should.
Like, it is just one. It's sort of like, okay, so there was this one dancing penguin from a zoo. Okay. The scientists decided to return him to his habitat. Okay.
well, but this is I want to
and
make
the penguins
this point.
danced for the people.
Sure.
And it was filmed. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And this prompted the UN to be like, fishing as a concept, we just
Ban.
gotta ban it.
Ban it. No fishing allowed whatsoever.
Just the leaps where you're like, I can take this.
Right,
I
from
can
A
take
to
this
B,
leap.
from A to Z. Like, what?
can't
How are
make
you
that
filling
final
in
leap.
these gaps?
Right. Have you seen the UN? It's a mess. It's a tangled bureaucratic nightmare.
They solve that fully before
Yeah, oh
they
yeah.
even put him on the helicopter to go back and make good with his dad. He's like, by the way, no big deal. I've changed the entire fabric of the world.
To solve a
global
problem,
economy.
to solve an issue that the penguins are having, which is like a fish scarcity that we barely even knew was
Right.
a conflict in the film.
Right, and the ecological threat of it, but also there's the one moment in one of the meetings where the woman says, like, well, I think we should just do nothing. Like, she just cleanly states, like, why should we change anything we're doing? It'll cost money. No, the point I want to make, though, is when he's in the zoo box,
Yeah.
and he's, like, yelling at them, like, fish, 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 and then it cuts to the other side of the glass, and it's like, "Ah, ah, ah," just the worst sound in the world. And you go, oh, I guess that's what this movie has all been building up to narratively, is his superpower is because he figured out how to tap dance and not sing. He's the only penguin who can communicate to the humans.
Right.
If he had been normal,
Right.
he never would have made an impression.
He just would have squawked.
But you also then have to take the leap that they are so blown away by his tap dancing that they then go, there has to be some message being conveyed here.
Right.
And research everything going on in the penguin ecology.
Now here's
Yes.
Dance is a nonverbal way of communication.
Sure.
It's true. It's a universal language. Here's some other facts about this film.
The end of the movie is they solve everything.
We're done.
Everything's
Yeah.
perfect.
But
Noah's
Happy Feet
bad.
2's coming though.
Yeah.
Some things are gonna get fucked up.
And
for
you
that,
zoom
right?
out to the world and a feather
Yeah,
flies
you
out.
zoom out way out.
Way
the
out.
world's a marble.
Yeah.
And then we see a feather. Don't know what that's supposed
It's
to
directed
mean.
by George Miller.
Aliens.
Aliens.
It's gonna pop it in that Men in Black bag.
Here's some other things.
Yeah.
They showed this movie to Prince to gain his approval
I read
for using the song Kiss, a
Yes.
great song. And he loved the movie so much that he wrote them a song, the Song of the Heart, I
Yes.
believe it's called.
Right. Prince, who notoriously did not say yes to many things.
Right.
Openly volunteered. "May I-"
Originally, he was like, Happy Feet, no.
Yeah.
I'm not letting you do my song. And then he saw
He
it.
loved the
He
film
wrote
so
it
much.
within 1 week
loved
of
it.
watching the
He's
movie.
like, here's an extra song for you.
and won a Golden
Not
Globe.
since Batman has a
snubbed
movie
at the
spoke to me
Oscars.
so fully.
Yes.
Yes,
right.
weird that it was snubbed at the Oscars.
You know, the Oscars are weird about the pop songs sometimes.
Do you remember that his Globe win, he was stuck in traffic? It was one of the early awards given out, and they accepted it, and then he showed up like 40 minutes later, and they let him give an
It's the
acceptance
Globes,
speech
why
40
not?
minutes
Wow.
later. It was
Right.
great.
So you got that.
Yeah.
What are some other facts about this movie? Savian Glover, he was taught to walk like a penguin and given a penguin apparatus on his head.
Yeah.
So that he
Taught
would,
by who? A penguin?
yeah, probably like
By
Lovelace.
Mumble.
Yeah, Mumble. Lovelace is an EVP at Warner Brothers. Right?
Glover, you must walk like me. Even doing an impression of it makes me feel uncomfortable.
Don't do it.
David, maybe you can fact check this, but IMDb said that this is the highest grossing movie that Nicole Kidman has ever been in.
I think that's 100% correct.
Well, now that Aquaman is swept in, I would guess that that's no longer true, but it might be her second highest
I think up until
grossing
that
film.
point. Right.
She was in Batman Forever. That's another big hit for
Gross
her.
less than Happy
I
Feet.
believe. I mean, obviously came out, 10 years prior. So.
Right.
Let's see. Nicole Kidman's top 5 movies. Number 1, Aquaman with a bullet.
Number 2, Happy Feet.
Number 2, Happy Feet. Number 3, Batman Forever. Number 4, The Upside.
Wow.
What?
Last year, Kevin Hart, Bryan Cranston, remake of inspirational French drama Léon Tuchel.
Bryan Cranston's in a wheelchair. Kevin Hart's to take care of
That
him.
was a high grossing movie?
$108 million domestic.
Wild.
Wow.
Number
115 in January.
number
Dumped 3 years after it was
number
filmed.
5, Just Go With It, the Adam Sandler movie.
Wow.
Number 6, The Others. Those are her 600 million grossers in the U.S.
That's crazy.
But if you sort by worldwide, guess what jumps into the 5? 2 movies jump into the 5.
Moulin Rouge.
No, not Moulin Rouge.
Okay, something that's disproportionately well overseas.
Correct. 2 movies jump, though.
Recent.
One directed
or
by a
older?
friend of the pod.
One directed by a friend of the pod. Is it a movie we've covered on the show?
No. He's been on the show multiple times.
Golden Compass.
Correct.
Okay.
Which was a bigger hit internationally.
Right.
And the other is a great film. A great film that we both love. And I'm sure Caitlin likes too. Maybe not. I don't want to speak for Caitlin.
Dogville.
Not
Made $500 million.
in China. Yeah, I don't know.
It's a great film that you and I love.
Yeah.
And maybe me. Let me think about it.
I hope you like it.
Is she a main character? Or is she
She's
part
the villain.
Paddington!
Paddington. Which made 76 domestic, but 258
I mean, you said you
worldwide.
don't want to make an assumption. I did spy.
Did you
It
to
is
answer
your
your
background.
question?
Yeah.
It is.
David.
it's-
There he is.
He's such a.
I am obsessed with Paddington.
There you go.
Here's the thing I feel like people don't talk about. He's a very nice bear.
And he'll give you a hard stare.
He will.
He'll give you a hard stare if he has to.
And if you're good and polite, everything will.
the world
But then
will be
you got
right.
you got Moulin Rouge, Cold Mountain, kind of a big hit overseas. The Interpreter did okay overseas. You know, she's made a lot of movies. She's made a lot
She
of
has,
movies.
and only one of them outgrossed Happy Feet. I
Let's
just think it's important to point out
There's
this
a big
movie
hit.
is so colossal that after this, not only are they like 100% you get to make your Mad Max, unlimited budget, take your time, whatever it is, recast it, younger actor, you're good to go. But they also go, hey, George Miller, do Justice League. And this is right before the writer's strike is about to happen, when studios are like trying to stockpile scripts as fast as they can. Batman Begins has come out. The Dark Knight has not. And Warner Brothers is like, we're going to set up a second Batman franchise. We're going to do a different parallel Batman on screen at the same time.
yes.
They hire George Miller. He works on this movie for like a
Justice
year.
League Mortal.
They cast it. They're in active pre-production. The plug gets pulled at the absolute last second.
Because of the writer's strike, among other things, correct? Right.
Well, I mean, they were trying to get it done before the writer's strike, and I think they thought the script was like 10% less good than it needed to be. But also, apparently, Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan complained. And we're like, you're just going to put some other fucking Batman, and it's
it was a dumb idea.
some random 20-year-old named, let me look at this, Arm and Hammer?
Oh, Army Hammer was
Armie
cast?
Hammer, at the age of like 20 or 21, was cast as Batman.
You can
Whoa.
read the script if you want. I believe it was written by people Kieran and Michelle Mulroney.
Adam Brody was the Flash.
Yes.
Kamen was Green Lantern.
right.
Hugh Key Barnes, a.k.a. Morton Joe, was
Oh.
Martian Manhunter.
That's right.
And Megan Gale, who plays Valkyrie in Fury Road, was going to be Wonder Woman.
That's right.
Like, he rolls over a lot of the things. But then a bunch of other, like Tessa Palmer and Zoe Kazan were supposed to be in it. I think Jay Baruchel was supposed to be Maxwell
Another thing
Lord.
that happened is that in July, it was supposed to start filming in July 2008.
Yeah.
Guess what came out in July 2008?
The Dark Knight.
Right. And I think after that, it was like, you know what? This is fine.
Well, and they
Right.
didn't. They
Yeah.
were like, please don't.
But now,
do this.
but then it was they really had the clout after
Yeah.
The Dark Knight comes out. Anyway, instead, Warner Brothers pivoted to a surefire hit, a Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern film.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. That
Yeah,
is what
truly. That was the move they did. They went, let's slow down.
Right.
Yeah.
And anyway, but let's play the box office game.
So this movie, I remember this very specifically. This movie was number 1 for 3 weeks in a row.
That's true.
With the same movie at number 2
That's
for all
true.
3 weeks. And every week people went, that movie's going to beat Happy Feet, right? And it kept on suplexing Casino Royale.
Correct. Casino Royale was the
Wow.
number 2 movie. They were released at the same time. They basically grossed the same amount of money.
Yeah.
Like Happy Feet was just always a little higher. And Casino Royale is one of those highest grossing, never number 1 movies.
And Casino Royale was so beloved, the word of mouth was so good that they were like, this weekend it's going to jump up and it's going to take over Happy Feet. And Marvel was like, hold my fucking beer. I own you.
So those are the top 2 films. Happy Feet debuted to $41 million on November 17th. It was
Huge.
a sort of Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
And Casino Royale debuted to $40 million.
And Happy Feet ends up at 2 and change.
No, just under 2, I think. 198.
And Casino Royale was like 190.
Let's find out, Griffin. 167.
A pretty,
not as-
actually pretty big there.
But number 3
Uh-huh.
at the box office was the big breakout comedy of the year.
The big breakout comedy.
I haven't checked in with this movie recently. I'm sure if I watched it now, there would be no issues, in the harsh light of day with this one.
Sounds like there would be some issues.
This
with
movie kind of ruined culture for like a 10-year window.
Yeah, this movie, you
Oh.
could point the finger at it.
Borat? Yeah, I think
It is
no
just so
problems there.
wild to think that, like, I grew up in Britain.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait a second. What?
All right. I had grown up with Ali G, with Sacha Baron Cohen's Ali G.
You had been making learning for glorious benefit of nation of Kazakhstan forever.
Right, Borat had been this sort of side character that he
Yeah.
was, and he had done an Ali G movie that had like hit in Britain, but obviously not overseas. Ali G was a very cult figure.
But that
had
movie-
his HBO show.
That movie was a scripted Ali
it's
G,
a
slobs
scripted. What
versus
if Ali G
snobs.
was the prime minister type?
Right.
And
And
King
was-
Ralph, if you will, sort of
Yes.
situation.
100%.
was not a respected film. Even if it was
No,
a
no,
hit,
it was-
people were like,
people were
this is
not-
garbage. People weren't
I believe
golf
Charles
clapping
Dance is the villain.
Ali
in it.
G into house.
And he was like, I'll do a spin-off. I'm going to do Borat. And everyone was like, oh, Borat, sure, okay.
Because the HBO show runs for 2 seasons, and it's very beloved, but it was never like a massive cultural hit.
Right. And then, but when Borat came out, all of the world was like, we've been waiting for this.
It was
This is
so
it.
weird.
This is what we wanted.
I remember thinking, like, that's so weird that
we wanted a mockumentary
The whole
about a
world-
fictional Kazakh.
I'm sorry, the whole world
journalist.
said, very nice.
Or my wife.
Or my wife.
Where is my wife right now? Because it's done like 3 ironic loops.
I
Is it
know.
funny right now?
I think it's
is it
back
not?
to being the funniest thing in the world.
But remember when it was like it was from Borat, and
Yes.
then you're like got sick of it, and
And
then
it was
just
from-
and then just saying it became funny again.
Then it was from the guy down the hall of my dorm.
And then like that got overdone. But are we
Right.
now just back to like my wife?
I
Like
think
we're
so.
like,
I think so. I think it's number 1 funny.
do you have any Borat takes? You want to weigh in on Borat? An Oscar-nominated screenplay.
Is that true?
It's true. It's a densely written film.
Oh, for sure.
No, but on the Bechdel Cast, we have a gimmick where we do instead of my wife, but this is based on a gravestone from the movie The Rock, Michael Bay's The Rock, where it says his wife. So we always do his wife.
His wife.
He's like,
Is that real?
Yeah.
Great movie.
can I throw out 2
Woof.
things I find fascinating about Borat before we move on from Borat? 1, Todd Phillips, the only man brave enough to tame retired Bit himself,
Yes.
was hired to direct the Borat movie.
He was.
Filmed the Borat movie for multiple weeks and was like, this is too dangerous. I can't do this.
Can't do it.
Quit the film.
Right.
Larry Charles takes over.
Right.
He gets a producer credit. He gets an Oscar
It's
nomination.
an Oscar nomination. Is a story credit. Yes.
Yes. But the man who was so twisted, he put us in the mind of someone who laughs at the things that make us cry,
Sure.
couldn't handle fucking Borat.
Weird. What if Borat came back right now?
Perfect time. Number 2 thing, I think Borat's another really fascinating box office thing where the
It
hype
went up.
Right, because
Like,
it was
yeah.
low budget studio film based off a cult TV show. Then the hype went through the fucking roof and people were losing their minds. Then Fox got really scared that the expectations were getting too high because it was the same year as Snakes on a Plane where the internet was blowing up about something and then no one went to see it.
Right.
So the weekend before it came out, they were like, never mind, we're not releasing it wide. It's
They
not
released in,
going
like,
out
800 theaters.
Right.
Right.
They
and
were
it
like-
still made $26 million.
That's what's insane. They were like,
Crazy.
let's limit the theater count so we won't look like we're underperforming if we don't. And instead, every single screen sold out. It was like one of the biggest per screen averages ever. The next weekend, they put it on 2,000 screens, and it was number 1 again. Crazy number 3 at the box office.
Number 4 is the kind of movie about what if you signed a sort of mystical contract to, take on a role in society.
Mr. McGoyman's Wonder Emporium?
No.
God, but you gotta give me points for that guess.
Sure. You sort of spiritually signed this contract through the act of murder.
Is it the Santa Claus 3? It's called the Escape Clause?
That's right. And who's the villain?
Jack Frost, played by Martin Short.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know anything else about that movie, but I know that it's about a clause in his Santa Claus contract, which he, of course,
There's an escape clause.
unwittingly agreed to through murdering Santa Claus.
Right.
Is it a good movie?
He's getting really tired. He's
It's,
burnt out.
There's time travel. I know that.
Time
I haven't
travel.
seen it,
So
but
it's kind of like an It's a Wonderful Life. Uh-huh.
So I maybe. But it does follow the trend of the third movie of a sequel having time travel elements because we do that with Ninja Turtles. We do that with others that I can't remember. Harry Potter. And yet others. But I'm sure your listeners
It
will
also
tweet at
has
me.
the Santa has to fight bad Santa thing. Because it's like Jack Frost hates that he never rose to an elected position. He never got the chance to murder Santa himself. So he exploits the fact that Tim Allen's like, I'm burned out. I could use a vacation. Shows him the escape clause loophole. And then because he knows they won't accept him being Santa, he builds an evil, bad robot Santa. Where they're like, this looks like Tim Allen, but he's an asshole. He keeps on complaining about the fact that he can't use the N-word. What's up with this guy? And then I think the two Santas have to fight.
Can you give me the sort of 3 taglines from the Santa Claus 3, the Escape Clause poster? Number 1 is just billing.
Naughty v nice.
No, it's Santa Claus versus Jack Frost.
Okay.
Formal.
Okay.
Number 2, I'm sure you can't, but it's pretty good.
It's naughty versus nice?
No.
I could have sworn. What?
'Twas the fight before Christmas.
I mean, it looked like a boxing match poster. The
Right,
Santa
and
Claus
you've got both of them sort of have a fist up.
Yeah.
Both of them are sort of like contemplating.
But they're also treating it like it's like Pacino, De Niro, Heat. Like finally, we're gonna get to see weirdly made up Martin Short and Tim Allen punch each other.
And then weirdly, they were like, let's tag one more tagline on right at the bottom. Frost bites November 3rd. Wow. You really needed that? And then there's a teaser poster. His time at the North Pole is about to go south.
Oh.
Wow, clever.
It's just so funny that this and that are in theaters in fucking November. They can't wait till Christmas. They're like, we got to get the Christmas movie out in November.
It's almost always the first week of November.
So weird.
Because their whole thing is if you release it right before
Maybe it
Christmas.
can bounce back for Christmas, right?
Well, no, and also December 26th, no one will go see it. The day after Christmas, no one wants to see
Everyone's
a
like, sick
Christmas movie.
Christmas, right.
So you have to get your business leading up to it. It peaks on Christmas Day, and then you're out.
All right, number 5 at the box office is not a movie that I like at all, but it is genuinely the kind of movie that a studio would just never make anymore.
Mr. McGoyham's Wonder Emporium.
No. It's a comedy, like kind of a meta comedy.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Stranger Than Fiction.
Which is written by
what's his pants?
Zach Helm, the writer and director of
Mr. McGorm's Wonder Emporium.
Thank you.
Stranger Than Fiction. Will Ferrell, he's hearing a narrator narrate his life.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't like that movie that very much. I only saw it once. I don't hate it. But I remember like being kind of excited for it and then kind of like not quite loving the execution.
But there was like a buying frenzy, and
Yeah.
every big actor joined the cast of that movie, and they were like, this thing's a
Emma
surefire hit.
Thompson. Who else is in that
The
one?
Queen graced
Right.
us with her presence, Ms. Latifah herself.
Of course. And like, it's just, Sony made that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and then they were like, I don't know, I'm surprised this underperformed. This
did
movie about
okay.
a man who's in a book.
It made $40 million. That's
I know.
not bad.
A scene as an
Maggie Gyllenhaal,
underperformance.
right? Complaining about taxes. I remember that scene.
Right.
Some other movies. Flushed Away. Horrible movie.
Horrible movie.
Saw 3. Not good, but excited for Spiral.
But
the
had
book of
time
Saw.
travel in it because it's the third of a thing. Also, Men in Black 3.
Yes.
You're right about Saw 3 because that's where they have to be like, why the fuck did we kill the guy basically in movie 2? Why did we give him cancer? This is terrible.
Yeah.
So let's flash back, I guess,
Oh,
right?
I was making a joke, but yeah, I'm sure that does happen.
That does. Saw 3 is the one with all the flashbacks,
Yeah.
right? Because he's dead in Saw 3.
I think that's probably the reason
Or
it
dying.
happens is by the third movie, they go like, oh, fuck, we put ourselves in a bad position. It would be easier to make a third movie if we could go back and change this thing that happened in the first or second movie. And they're like, let's make the movie about them going back and making this film easier to write.
Are you excited for Spiral from the Saw book of Saw?
I'm very ready
Did
to
you see
open
the trailer
book.
for the Chris Rock Saw movie?
No.
Get ready.
All right.
Chris Rock, Samuel L. Jackson, Max Minghella, the trio. They're taking on Saw.
Very bizarre. I've talked about this before, but the press release when they announced that Chris
Yes,
Rock was
Chris
going to
Rock.
executive produce and star in a new Saw film, there's this quote from the head of Lionsgate that is, when Chris Rock came in and pitched us his terrifying new vision for the future of the Saw franchise, we were chilled to our core. It's something like that, but I just picture the Lionsgate executive lying awake in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Can't get it out of my head.
His wife just going, honey, what's wrong? Because Chris Rock came in this morning and, God, I don't even know how to say this. He pitched us his terrifying new vision for the future of the Saw franchise.
Some other films. You've got Babel. Babel.
Yeah.
The Inarritu movie.
How's that aged?
Oh, is that the Brad Pitt's in that?
He is. He's in it. Kate Blanchett's in it.
Rika Kikuchi.
Yeah.
It's a movie, of course, about the fact, a tragedy, a
Can't
drama.
talk to each other.
We can't talk to each other. If only we could learn how to tap dance, we could cross language barriers.
You've got The Departed,
Oh, yeah, good movie.
Best Picture winner. You've got Let's Go to Prison debuting this week. Not a hit.
Bad movie.
That's the Bob Odenkirk movie,
Directed
right?
by Bob Odenkirk. Yeah. A film that is mostly about trying to not get sexually assaulted in prison, but it's a comedy.
Anyway, Happy Feet. We did it. And after that, there were no more Happy Feet movies, right? That was it?
Just the flip of it being like, we hand you Justice League, that goes down. They're like, please put all your energy into Happy Feet 2. And he clearly says, I'll do Happy Feet 2 if you finally let me make the Mad Max movie. And that Happy Feet 2 is like the thing that gives him the chance, the leverage to make Fury Road at the scale that he wants. It's insane.
It is funny to think that, right, they were like, fine, you can do Mad Max. That's the hit.
Right.
Happy Feet 2.
Give us some money in the bank.
I mean, a 5-year wait for a sequel to
Animation
Happy Feet,
takes-
which does not demand a sequel?
Animation takes so long,
I know.
especially if you don't have a studio up and running. This movie does not pass the Bechdel test, right?
I doubt it.
There are two female characters.
Yeah.
You're forgetting the very, very fancy teacher.
Oh, well, there's two
Right,
teachers.
Right, there's
Sure,
two
oh.
teachers, right.
But they don't talk to each other. If anyone would interact, I guess it would be Gloria and Norma Jean.
right.
I think the teacher and Gloria have a brief conversation.
Oh, that is true.
But probably about her son, right?
To
Yeah, right.
contextualize that, well, then they talk. When she's like, I know what a heart song is, like when she's a baby.
Yeah.
To contextualize that, it's all about I need a heart song so that I can find a male lover, so it doesn't pass the Bechdel test.
Mm.
Do you guys want to see a picture of Robin Williams with a life-size Lovelace?
Oh, please.
You know?
This is one of my favorite subgenres of premiere photo.
Whoa, that's so much
It's also
bigger
one of those
than I thought.
classic Wikipedia, we have the rights to this image only, so like his eyes are half closed.
I also love, here's what I love about these types of photos.
Oh, ha, Lovelace.
There is no Warner Brothers theme park. It's not like they built that costume so that they can ship it over to Orlando.
It's bigger than life size. You're right. It's also weird that he has a sweater. Penguins don't need sweaters.
I think Happy Feet 2 has a bunch of sweater
There's a
shit.
sweater thing.
Because all I know is the logo for
Great.
Happy Feet 2 is wearing a sweater.
Yes,
There's like a sweater on the
I
two.
got that from the trailer
Yeah.
as well.
But you
Oh,
know what I'm
you're
saying?
right,
Like,
you're right,
they
you're
built this giant walk-around Lovelace costume, and it's never going to be put at Universal Studios. It exists only so that Robin Williams can stand next to it at a red carpet.
it's also
And then just goes into storage?
It's also
That's
just so
good
funny
promotion.
that this is George Miller's full look every time.
I know.
How do you describe it? He looks like he's about to invent flubber, right? You know what I mean? He's got like the round glasses. He's got sort of like a suit with no tie,
Yes.
and he's got the long hair that's sort of swept back.
But oftentimes he's wearing like a very loud, colorful shirt.
Yeah, right.
Right. The glasses on
It's
the...
something about the big round glasses,
But
though,
also
that, make
that they're
him look
always
like a mad
on
professor.
the necklace thing.
He's got the strings.
He's
right,
always got
right.
the strings hanging off. Yeah.
It's just I don't mind his look,
think
but
it
you know what I
rules.
mean.
I think it rules.
What do you
And
think,
it's also
Ben?
like I was watching all the like behind the scenes Mad Max documentaries.
Yeah.
And the first like 10 years of his career, he looks normal and pretty cool. Like on the Mad Max set, he's just like some dude wearing a leather jacket. And then he starts looking like
He looks like an out of work conductor who's really let himself go.
what a weird guy.
He's a weird fella. I love him. I kind of love him.
I
Even though
love-
Happy Feet doesn't really do it for me, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I will say
Caitlin, like you seem like you're pretty mixed on the old feetsies.
I'm heavily anti-Happy Feet.
Heavily anti-happy.
Yes.
And I-
From a screenwriting standpoint alone, it is
it's kind of
an
a nightmare.
abomination.
Yeah. I was watching it going like, what the fuck is this? And then the last 15 minutes kind of won me over just in the audacity of just how big they go so fast.
Can I
There's
ask?
nothing like it.
No.
Do you think that they wrote the dances like in the screenplay? Like, how do you write dance? This has come up on the show before.
Oh.
Can you write a dance?
I mean, it
Left
probably
foot, right
depends.
foot,
Probably not to that
circle.
extent.
Shimmy to the left, shimmy to the right.
Probably not. You'd leave that up to like the choreographer to figure it out, but you'd be like, yeah, now the character does this type of dance.
You put it down as like a character name, like Mumble's left foot,
Yeah.
and then the dialogue is tap tap
Tap, 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 tap.
tap tap tap,
And
and then the next line is
someone in our
Mumble's
subreddit,
right
because
foot.
you know the
Tippity tap, tap,
Reddit
tap.
has figured out that we're doing Miller because of my habit of logging everything I
Well,
watch.
and I've complained about this, and you.
I think
refuse
it's
to
good
change.
because it tips off the diehard fans to what they want to watch and rent and stuff.
And I think our fans can go suck a lemon.
Fair enough. This is the fourth film we've covered that Prince wrote an original song for, along with Batman, I'll Do Anything, and Showgirls.
There's a Prince song in Showgirls?
That's the one I didn't know about. So I'm
Wow.
Googling.
Wow. The Mount Rushmore of films. Are there any, I mean,
Yes.
outside of Prince's own films?
Rippo, Godzippa, I don't know.
Okay.
Some weird song. Yeah.
Outside of Prince's movies, are there any other movies that Prince wrote songs for?
I don't fucking know. I have to look this up right now.
Okay. Well, hopefully at this point, Prince has won our March Madness bracket, and we'll be doing a mini-series on the films of Prince.
He's on the ballot.
He's on the ballot. Caitlin, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Thank you for talking feet. People should listen to Bechdel Cast, although I can't imagine they aren't already, but they should if they're
Aw.
not.
Appreciate it.
One of the best. And you have another podcast, Sludge, about how our fucking healthcare system is a nightmare.
yes, I do. Check that out. And
That's a fiction podcast. That's like sort of a hypothetical science
it's actually
fiction.
where it's largely me dancing on the podcast.
Gotcha.
Yeah, what if there's a podcast where we just don't know how to talk, so we have to only dance into the microphone?
hmm
That's like our version of Happy Feet is every penguin mates with another penguin by broadcasting their own podcast. You find the podcast that matches yours.
Right.
And then one brave penguin doesn't know how to podcast, so he just holds a mic up to his feet and does some soft shoe.
What a weird movie.
Yeah.
$200
fucking
million.
Insane. A very bizarre film. I can't believe it exists.
Next week, Happy Feet 2.
We're right back at it.
Get excited.
So tune in for that. Caitlin, thanks again for being here.
Thank you.
Social media.
Oh, sure. At Caitlin Durante on Twitter and Instagram. You can go to my website, CaitlinDurante.com.
Hells yeah. Thank you all for listening. Please remember to rate, review, subscribe. Thanks to Andrew Gudo for our social media, Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for our artwork, Lane Montgomery for our theme song. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit. Tune in next week for Happy Feet 2. And as always, fuck, I was trying to land
Do
the
a puffin
puffin
joke.
joke. Oh, God. I give up.
They're not good landers.
They're not. Puffins can't land.
so cute, though.
You know what I'm gonna do after this? I'm gonna do some puffing.
Oh, there's the joke.
I tried. I don't know.
That's
I tried to save you, and you're
That's
just gonna
my
abandon
man.
me.
Oh, vape pen.
No, I don't vape anymore.
Oh, right.
Smoke weed.
It's wanky tobacco.
Sounds like another mumble brag to me.
Oh, dude.